to CouchSelect.com, where we're going to talk about how broken the couch in the Rage Select studio is. I hope you guys
Simpsons couch
are all ready. Yeah, I'm Jeff. And no, we're not going to talk about that. We're not talking about that. There's too many other things. We can
have couch gags. The Simpsons doesn't own couch gags.
This is a show devoted to video games and nerd shit and geek culture and all that shit. And oh my God, are we in the we're in the middle of the it's like Tornado Alley of geek shit right now.
It's pretty intense right now.
And I got to be honest with you, Michael, I'm not looking at any of it. I haven't watched season 2 of Cobra Kai. I haven't really seen Endgame yet. I haven't been watching Game of Thrones. One Punch Man came back on, and I'm doing that. I'm not doing any of that shit. I'm just sitting around. Mortal Kombat came out, and because the towers are so hard, I've just been letting the AI play the game for me. So it's like I'm literally not doing anything that everybody else is doing, and yet I don't want anybody to spoil me ever.
Okay.
I don't want to go to the theater. I don't want to turn on my free HBO Go or spend 40 minutes watching a show, but you keep them spoilers the fuck out of here. So, yes, welcome to a spoiler-free episode of the Rage Select Podcast. We already introduced ourselves, so no need to do that again. I don't know. I live in this quandary where I want to see Endgame. I don't want to be spoiled, but I don't want to go to the theater, and I do have to be on the internet. It's like I'm in the worst of all possible worlds. So, let's just say that this weekend, I'm going to go see it in the theater. I'm going to give them my money, but I have a VPN. There might be some things that happen because, the thing is that at this point, I'm so close to just being I just want to read the script so that at least I just know everything so that somebody can't inadvertently tell me something that I don't want to know.
Which you did to yourself on accident.
Which I did to myself on accident. By the way, to anybody that's joining the Rage Select Discord or is on the Rage Select Discord, please mute all of the spoiler channels. I wish if there's a way to I might look it up and see if there's a way to make them mute it. Because I created an Avengers spoiler channel. I didn't mute it. And when you don't mute Discord, the message pops up at the bottom with the text of the message. And the first message was a thing. And I got to be really clear here. The person that did it, I'm not calling them out.
No,
that was 100% my fault.
Yeah.
I did that shit to myself.
He played himself.
But then, I was looking up the news this week, and I was on Polygon, and the top article was like, "Hey, what about that wacky thing that happened in Endgame? That was weird, right?" And I'm just like, come on, motherfucker. So I gotta see this thing as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because and you know what? We're going to talk about Endgame a little bit more, but because you saw it.
Yeah, because I saw it last
I haven't
night.
seen it. You saw it. But
I went out of my way to get a ticket on the opening night just so I didn't have to deal with that shit.
Did you have to sell your blood or your arm or your offspring?
I just had to get a seat that wasn't really in the middle. It's on the far left. But
that's the perfect seat. You can get up and go to the bathroom.
And the AMC in Pflugerville just kept opening new screenings for it.
Okay.
Because by the time I went to buy the ticket, most when you go to Fandango, most of it's 3 or 4.
Right.
There's this big fucking square of just screenings, and I just had to find one that had a decent seat, and I got lucky on that one.
Yeah. I don't know. The thing is that this shit has been 11 years in the making?
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that people could calm down and let everybody go see this movie for fucking 5 seconds before we start writing shit about when the best time to go to the bathroom is by pointing out specific plot points or there was a whole spoiler-free reviews on Twitter, and I clicked on the first one and it started listing off people's names, and I was like, I don't want to know those names. Also, I'm probably a little too sensitive. Anyway,
I want to know this name.
Avengers Endgame. Michael,
it was just the byline.
Yeah, it was just the writer's name. I'm like, I don't want to know who Louise Smith is. All right.
Never.
No. So you saw it.
I did.
And it's garbage, right? It's bad. It was a total letdown. End of 11 years of build-up, and it was just a wet fart. Ryan Johnson directed it. We all hate it. Subverting all your expectations.
Subverted all the expectations, by the way. No, this movie is fucking it's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Because it really did.
Well,
it really is
3 hours long, first of all.
Yeah, first of all, it's 3 hours long. And you feel it here and there. I'm not gonna lie.
I felt it during Infinity War. I was kind of
there's one or two sequences where you feel it, but not all that much. But I think I was feeling it because I was just so fucking anxious.
Yeah.
Because it was the first time in a long time I watched one of these Marvel films and I didn't know what was going to happen in any shape, way, or form.
Okay.
Because all of the other ones are based on something, and you can figure out the trope. You're like, this is what's going to happen.
I mean, if you're a comic book person and you see Captain America, the Winter Soldier, you're going to be like, I know who the Winter Soldier is.
That's what I mean. Like, it was the first time I watched one of these, and I was like, I don't actually know if this is based on anything.
Yeah.
And if it is, I don't think I've read it or something. Like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm incredibly anxious. And the movie, by the time I was done, I literally sat in my seat with my roommate was right next to me, and I was like, "What'd you think?" I'm like, I don't know what to say. And I spent like an hour just saying that over and over again to my roommate going, I don't know what to say.
I should have sent a poet.
They're like, yeah, that's basically what it was. I was like, I'm speechless.
They should have sent a movie reviewer.
Like, I was like, if I had to review that for one of us, I would have been on Chris's couch and he would have like, final thoughts. And I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, just
I don't fucking know out of 10. That's what I'm going to tell you right now.
Like, if you've seen any of these movies, you're going to watch it.
Yeah.
Brah. Like, you're not going to be like, you know what? I'm really tired of superhero movies. I saw Infinity War. I think that was the last Marvel movie I'm going to watch. I'm not going to watch the second half of the epic climax of 11 years of build-up.
This is what I'm going to say to the audience, by the way. If you haven't seen like a giant chunk of these movies, just don't go watch it. Because you're going to be like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know who that guy is. I don't know who that dude. Like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
For like hours.
Yeah.
There's so many callbacks to like 11 years worth of movies that this movie is just it's the culmination of everything.
I mean, I've been saying since Infinity War came out that I would be really curious to know what a person who just watched Infinity War, who maybe like saw some of the first ones, but like
there's even the callbacks to like some of the TV show stuff they did.
Really?
Yeah, there's a callback to the Agent Carter show.
Okay.
Like, there's a call like it's like fuck.
Wow.
Like it took me a second to realize that. Yeah, exactly. It's like this is the culmination of damn near everything except for ironically enough the Netflix shows.
That would have been the real twist. Is
that
would have
been amazing?
Like the Avengers were getting ready. You know, in the trailers, how there's like these weird spots where you don't know if there's like a person who's supposed to be there.
Yeah,
it's actually Jessica Jones was there, and you're like, oh shit.
You want to? There was an old Twisted Toy Fair that used to make fun of the Defenders because they used to they're like, yeah, the Defenders are just a bunch of dudes that hang out in a van and like try to like save the world.
Pretty much.
And I was like, that would have been amazing if like in the third act, like in the huge battle, like a dinky little van shows up driven by Daredevil for some reason because he's blind, which makes it that. It just shows up like, hey,
fucking Iron Fist is there.
We're here to fight or whatever.
Iron Fist is the one who finally manages to punch Thanos so hard that it reverses the entire continuity. You're like, Iron Fist!
I would have loved that. I would have given that movie 15 out of 10 immediately.
Oh man!
But I just it's hard to talk about. But here's what I'm going to tell the audience though.
Okay,
it's amazing.
Yep,
it's the culmination of everything, and I can't stop thinking about it.
Okay,
like as soon as I got to work, I was literally just sitting there and just started fidgeting, like flailing in my seat.
You're going through withdrawal
and
symptoms?
Like, because I couldn't stop thinking about the movie, and I couldn't talk to anyone about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, everyone's like, there was, like, 2 people who saw it in my office, but they were, like, really far away. And we were,
you don't want to yell like, hey, what about that one part?
Yeah, I was like, hey, remember that part where Captain America did the thing and everything was super cool? And they're just like, but there would be a guy behind us like, dude, fucking stop. And I was like,
shut up.
I was like, I want to talk about it. But I also wanted to see it again. I was squirming in my seat, still thinking about it. I'm still, like, because I still, like, I'm having a hard time putting everything in the words because it's so long and so just goddamn amazing and beautiful. And the ending is just, oh my God, it's such a great ending.
Yeah.
There is no after credit sequence.
Somebody said there is an after credit sequence.
There is not.
Okay.
Well, they saw at least. Because I sat there and I waited the whole time. So,
well, I mean, you'd be a fool to walk out of a Marvel movie. Yeah. I mean,
there's not an after credit sequence, but there is like a subtle nod to like the beginning of the MCU, basically.
Okay.
But other than that, I can't really say why.
All right. Well, you know what? So give me an arbitrary score out of an arbitrary score. Is it just 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100?
Right now, it's like 20 out of 10.
Okay.
Because that shit is just, it's everything.
I mean,
you'll never see anything else like it probably ever again, even from Marvel themselves.
It's weird because in a lot of ways, I was trying to think, I was talking with Jason about like, there's nothing to compare it to.
There's nothing you can
like the only thing that I could kind of compare it to would be something like maybe Return of the King. But like the thing is that was what, 6 years was a movie every other year, right?
Yeah,
for the original.
And it's just the 3 movies,
right? And then but like, yeah, this is literally. I don't think we've ever had. I mean, how many are
the
there?
closest thing to this is a TV show, basically.
Yeah,
like I've been explaining it to people because it is the ending of the main 11 years worth of story.
Right.
Like a good way of explaining it is like Supernatural. It's like Supernatural's main storyline ends on season 5.
Well, now I don't want to watch it
but
anymore. I'm not going to watch it anymore.
There's a shit ton of story after season 5, and that's what it is. It's like it's the ending of the main plot line, essentially.
Sure.
And now all we have are the seasons afterwards, the sequel seasons or whatever.
Well, but the thing is that what I always find interesting is that, Thanos is not the biggest bad guy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, there are the Eternals and Galactus and I guess Ultron's already out of the picture, but I mean, you got like Kang and Immortus.
There's a lot of dudes.
There's some cosmic mother. I haven't seen Captain Marvel. I understand the Supreme Intelligence is in there somewhere, but there have been big bad mofo's, and this isn't the only time that Marvel has built up to a big thing. There's Secret Wars, Secret Invasion. That was a whole thing. I mean, there are places that you can go from here. It's just that I don't know. I feel like it's weird. It would be very strange to me if you had 11 years and then this giant conclusion, and I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. And then you got to build back up over the course of another 11 years. It's like you should almost start by making new movies where it's just like a period drama about, I don't know, Captain America, before he got his powers, just in the neighborhood, and there's a boxer and the mob, and just a bunch of small stories to reset our expectations, because every one of these movies ends with some kind of world-destroying fight, and then this is the ultimate world-destroying fight, and then it's all right, you guys, you ready to build back up to another world-destroying fight?
Yeah, it's crazy. I love this movie with a passion, and I can't wait to see it again.
Okay, well, I can't wait to see it for the first time, but I can't do it just yet because there is a lot of stuff to talk about this week. But the thing by far that everyone is talking about is Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Mortal Kombat!
It's so good.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. You might say it's so good, but the internet begs to differ.
That's true. The internet's pretty vocal about it, but I haven't gotten that far compared to everybody else. So
there's 6 different stories that are related to Mortal Kombat here. We're not going to spend an equal amount of time on all of them because some are stupid and some are not stupid. But let's start off with the least stupid thing, at least IMHO, and that is so Mortal Kombat 11 launched, and okay, you play the story. Story's great. It's 6 hours long. I liked it. Again, I don't want to tell too much about the story because the Mortal Kombat story also does some fucking wackadoo shit.
It's crazy as shit. It's also just as crazy as shit.
Yeah.
Also has some crazy stuff in it.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. The ending of the Mortal Kombat 11 story is interesting. Okay. We got some options here. But, okay. So you get done with the story. And to be honest, the difficulty... Have you beaten the story?
No, I haven't even gotten close. I just finished the Sub-Zero Scorpion part.
Oh, that's or the first third, maybe a little, maybe half.
Also, I did not expect to like Sub-Zero's outfit as much as I did.
Yeah,
because I was like, he doesn't have his mask on. But the longer I looked at it, the more I was like, this is really fucking cool.
I really like the. I mean, okay, this is not a spoiler for any of the big parts of the game, but there is kind of that chapter is kind of this weird Scorpion Sub-Zero buddy cop thing.
It's amazing.
And I'm all about it. I'm all fucking about it.
I was like, this should just be the game. It's just this.
Yep, just these 2 motherfuckers that used to be mortal enemies. Mortal enemies!
That was supposed to be the original Shaolin Monk sequel.
Oh, before it was...
Before they
Dumb
went
Liu
bankrupt.
Kang and Dumb Kung Lao.
No, they were going to make a sequel to Shaolin Monks, but they went bankrupt as, prior to that, and they were going to make it was just going to be called Fire and Ice, and it was just going to be the 2 of them.
Well, because I think that when you beat Shaolin Monks, you can play back through it with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, but it's still the same story.
And the sequel was going to just be them, but they ran out of money before, and that was before they became NetherRealm. They were still Midway at that point.
Okay. So anyway, you get done with the story of Mortal Kombat, and you decide, I love this game. I want to play more of it. So you go to the towers. And you start trying to play the Towers of Time, and you're like, what in the fucking horseshit nutsack is this? I don't know if you've played any of the Towers of Time, but they are bullshit right now, or some of them are bullshit, right? Because, okay, so in Injustice, you do the thing, and there's like some minor modifiers depending on like the theme of the multiverse, right?
Yeah.
In the towers, it's kind of similar, except that they had this shit jacked up to 11. So it would be like, okay, the modifier on this stage is that missiles are going to fly and they're going to home in on your character. When they hit your character, they're going to hurt your character, and they are unblockable. And by default, when Mortal Kombat 11 launched, the AI had like 1,000 health, and the AI had like 4,000 health. So you'd have this super aggressive AI with a shitload of health, and then like stage hazards just knocking you on your, like, you couldn't even do. There's one of them that I still think is such horseshit, where like the enemy player is exuding like cold, and so if you try to get close to them, like, it takes a few seconds, but then you just like freeze eventually, like Sub-Zero freeze. Yeah. And it happens regardless of what you're doing. Like, it happened to me in the middle of a throw, and then the AI was so aggressive that it would just turn around and fucking whoop my ass. There was a place where it was on a stage that had some kind of like poison or like blood draining thing going on it, where I was fighting Shao Kahn, and I lost 2 rounds in a row. I lost the entire match. And Shao Kahn never touched me. I either blocked or avoided every single thing he threw at me. And the entire time, I was just aggressively up at his business. Combo. And the stage chip damage killed me before I could kill him.
That's crazy.
And it was like, okay, this isn't fun. Like, I loved the Injustice 2 multiverse, but this is just not fun. Like or you come onto a level where the other person has like 3 of different modifiers, so it's like, sometimes Aaron Black will come out, and sometimes Shinnok's hand will smack you, and then also there's fire that comes from the ceiling every 12 seconds, and all these things are popping at the same time that you're trying to fight one person. It's just like, I don't understand what you want from me. I'm not like a pro player here. I'm just trying to have some fun.
Fuck that.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, so here's what happened. That happened, game came out. NetherRealm did a combat cast. They basically said the first thing they did was on the server side, they made so that those environmental hazards like the missiles or whatever can be blocked. Like, there's nothing unblockable now. And then they reduced the AI health to 1,000. And they are currently working on a patch, which by the time this podcast comes out should be out. It's either going to be late or it's going to be early next week. And it's supposed to solve some of this stuff. So here we get to kind of the crux of the matter, because in addition to the towers are difficult, but one of the ways that you can mitigate that difficulty is you yourself can use consumable items that give you your own bullshit powers, like missiles and Shinnok arms and whatever. But those get used up after one fight. And so you can get those by playing certain towers, etc. But those are the best way right now to get through the tower. And so what a lot of people have said, and I kind of think this is legit, is that they are encouraging you to buy this shit off their real world store in order to be able to do the towers, in order to be able to get the stuff. The same is also kind of true of the crypt, which when you open up the crypt, it's randomly, it puts the chests in a random order. Like, apparently Ed Boon or on the Combat Cast, they were talking about how everybody who goes into the crypt should be getting the same things. It's just that the chests are going to be moved around. So you can't just like, and the only reason that I think that is so you can't just like find out on a chart where the things you want are and then just go boop, 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 boop.
That's what I did with X.
Right. Which I don't know really how to feel about that. But then also there are these Shao Kahn chests, or there's a few different types of chests that require hearts to open, and you get 1 heart every time you do a fatality, and like one Shao Kahn chest is like 250 hearts to open. So there's like a lot of potential grinding involved in order to get that stuff open. Now, personally, I don't care. Like, the cosmetic stuff, I kind of wish that the fatalities were not locked, that you get 1 fatality and then the brutalities and stuff are locked behind this chest and tower rewards and stuff. But, when I was playing Injustice 2, I was never playing Injustice 2 to try to unlock everything. I was just playing it because I thought it was fun, and then I get to unlock stuff. For the record, I would like to say that I do like the Mother Box system better than the Crypt, and I generally have had more fun with Injustice 2 than I'm having with Mortal Kombat 11. But part of it, though, is that I just had to let go, like, I'm not going to open up everything in the crypt. Like,
No, it's not going to happen.
like even if it was a reasonable amount of time to do, which right now somebody estimated it would be taking like 3,000 hours or something to unlock. Like, even if it was a reasonable amount of time to do, I still would. I'm going to get bored and move on. And eventually what will happen is I'll install Mortal Kombat. I'll play it for a little while. I'll build up some currency. I'll go spend it all in the crypt. And then I'll uninstall the game for 6 months. And then I'll come back to it later, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people have been saying that part of the reason that this whole system is set up is basically to encourage microtransactions, because you can buy time crystals, I believe, off the store, and then there's like a daily store where you can buy certain skins and certain things through with time crystals. Now, you can't buy everything, as near as I can tell.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just go to the skins, find one skin that you like, and then just like spend money on it. It'll say like, this unlocks in the crypt, and then there's like, if that comes up on the like random 5 things that are on the store, you can buy it with time crystals there.
Yeah.
But I don't think that you can go, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because this is very complicated, but I don't think that you can just go buy what you want with real money. Now, I think that in 10, they had like a full unlock DLC, right?
Yeah.
That was like $10 or $20 or whatever. But so this also ties into the second story, which is that also Mortal Kombat 11 has to be online constantly.
Yeah.
Like, in order to play the towers, you have to be online. And that does seem a little strange.
Well,
I mean,
did I tell you, or did you read what happened to me? I mentioned it in the Discord. The first time I did an arcade mode, when I was fighting Chronica, she did her fatality, which is the one where like you just
she just like rips you apart and puts you back together and rips you apart.
What
puts
happened
you back
was
together.
the server fucked up,
right?
And so I had to sit
I did
there
read this. Yeah,
for like a minute while he's just getting fatality'd over and over again before I could retry.
Right.
Just retry. That was what was frustrating about it.
Yes.
So I was just sitting there. I'm like, is this how long this fatality actually is? Because this is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. So, okay, let me throw out a few thoughts on this particular thing. One, I really want to see what this shit is like after the patch comes out, right?
Yeah.
Like, because on the Kombat Cast, they were pretty... So, okay, there are two sides to this. One is that this was a mistake. All the shit was fucked up, and that somehow it got through and they launched like this. I don't know about all that, right?
I super doubt that.
You know... The other part, the other theory is that they launched like this so that in their first week, like Wales would put a shitload of real world money in. The problem I keep coming down to though is that like I don't know what they would be spending those crystals on. I mean, like just the store, but then there's other weird shit like the fact that Frost is locked when you start the game. And if you go to the real world store, there's a $6 Frost unlock thing. But Frost unlocks if you just play the story up through one chapter.
Yeah.
But then, like, why was she locked to begin with? But then I think that the reason she's locked to begin with is because the story, like, tries to keep her a secret until, like, she's
which is weird.
Dramatically unveiled. But then the Kombat Cast, they announced her and they had a trailer for her.
Yeah, and she's, like, all over the place. It's like, why would you make that? Okay.
So there's a lot of kind of, like, and you know what I think? Here's what I honestly think. I honestly think that NetherRealm wants to make a game that they want to make this game as much like an old Mortal Kombat game as possible. Let us not forget this game is published by Warner Brothers, who is one of the most shitty. I mean, like, they fucked up Shadow of War.
Yeah.
They always want to put a shitload of microtransactions in. And I think that what's happening here, when I look at Injustice 2, I see a developer that made a game where they technically did what their publisher told them to by putting a microtransaction loot box system in, but you can fully ignore that microtransaction loot box system if you want to. And you're going to get the same level of enjoyment. I mean, I don't know, unless you're, all right, look, some armor looks better than other armors, but eventually I just got to the point where I was just like, I got to let this go. I got to fucking Elsa this shit and get on with my life. But what I see here is a company that is trying their hardest to, like, make this shit non-intrusive, all the while satisfying a publisher who wants this shit to be as intrusive as possible.
Yeah.
And that they fucked it up. Right? That's what I see when I look at this, is that they fucked up the balance and they're trying to fix it. Because, like, I don't know if you saw this, but one of the other things that we've got here is that somebody they quote unquote did the math and found out that, like, if you buy all the skins through microtransactions, they basically added up the average cost of like brutalities and skins and stuff on the real world store.
Yeah.
And then they counted up the full number of those things in the game, and then they did the math, and they were like, it would cost, what was it, like $4,000 or something like that?
Like $6,000, I think.
$6,000.
It was massive
to unlock all of that. But
so you couldn't even like play to win, basically.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
But then Ed Boon actually came back at the person who did that, and they were like, look, you can't just buy everything. Like, most of this shit is going to have to be unlocked via the crypt.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot just buy everything for real world money. In kind of a, I don't know. If I was Ed Boon, I think I would kind of be a little bit like sick of it right now, because
I can't blame him.
We haven't even gotten to the other 4 dumb things that are going on with Mortal Kombat. But that's the impression that I get. Now, I know that a lot of people, what I really want to know, Michael, is what is the game like after this patch?
Yeah.
Like, if the patch makes us that the towers are, generally speaking, kind of the same difficulty level that the towers were in Injustice 2, that's cool with me, right? If I can just pop open a tower, slam down on Liu Kang for 40 minutes, get a few rewards.
You really hate Liu Kang.
I fucking hate Liu Kang so much.
I really like him, too.
Somebody in the YouTube comments, I shouldn't be encouraging this, somebody in the YouTube comments was like, God, Jeff has the worst taste in Mortal Kombat characters. I'm just like, what a weird burn to make me feel bad. Like, I don't know.
Strange one, yeah.
I like the cyborgs and Melina, and, I don't like Liu Kang or Raiden very much. Like, see, back in the days, I was a Sub-Zero and Scorpion dude. I wasn't a Liu Kang and fucking Raiden guy, right?
I'm a Sub-Zero Liu Kang guy myself.
So, that was what happened. And then moving forward, I'm like, the ninjas. And then the ninjas turned into cyborgs. So I'm like, the cyborgs. And then Melina was there, and she was a bitch. And it was like, the bitch. The cyborgs and the bitch. I want somebody who could teleport, make my friend throw his controller and break it. And cyborgs that could teleport, make my friend throw his controller and break it. As long as I get somebody to throw a controller, that's all I care about.
He loves teleporting.
There aren't that many teleporters. They really toned that shit down in this game.
Even the teleporter doesn't work as well as it used to.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And in fact, somebody asked in the Discord if there was anything that we disliked, or that I disliked, or that we disliked about Mortal Kombat 11. I was like, yeah, there's plenty that I dislike. Like, I don't like the fact that like half the moves are now back forward moves instead of quarter circle moves.
Many back forwards.
And I'm not good at back forward. I'm good at quarter circle. So it's like I have to pick characters where the majority of their moves are quarter circle and not back forward, because I just can't reliably pull off back forward moves.
As a Guile player, it turned out fine.
Yeah. I've been playing as Katana, because Katana's got that Melina teleport where it's like a 2-part thing where you set up Melina stance, and then you can either like attack, throw a Sai, or teleport.
Oh, yeah.
Still get used to that. So anyway,
also, the slide was always like that too.
Back to Mortal Kombat 11. So we will see when that comes out. I think that this game is not unsalvageable, right? Like,
no, it's still fairly fun. Like, it's not like Street Fighter V level bad when it comes to like the weird shit that it has going on with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fairly normal game. Like, it had a story mode when it came out. It's still really fun to play.
Yep.
Like, I don't hate it in any way. Whereas with Street Fighter V, when that came out, I still regret it to this day.
I still like the base combat. I want to see what it's like afterwards. I'm definitely not saying that NetherRealm or Warner Brothers should be excused, but I put more of this shit I put on Warner Brothers and NetherRealm, because
absolutely.
I don't get the impression that NetherRealm is like looking to get super rich off of microtransactions, but that could just be me. To me, it feels mostly because Warner Brothers, like I said, has a track record of of fucking up games, right? Of taking a game that used to be good and then fucking it up. Like, you remember when Shadow of Mordor came out and they let Twitch streamers have it, and they gave them that contract of things that they could and couldn't say.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like really restrictive. And it turns out that the game was fine and everybody liked it, but then like they were still taking flack because they were like, you have to call it by this name. Don't point out bugs if they come up. Like, it was just like, nah, bro, but this game isn't buggy. Like, it's fine.
It's actually amazing.
It's really a fun game. Like, you didn't need all these caveats if you would have just let people alone, So anyway, let's get on to some of the ones that I think are dumb. All right.
I bet I know one of them at least.
So first, let's talk about SJWs making the women of Mortal Kombat 11 look gross and ugly and not having big tits, because that's a thing.
Of course it is.
Also, you may have noticed that in Mortal Kombat 11, the lady characters don't tend to have skimpy outfits the way that they
for that, by the way,
did in Mortal Kombat 10 and Mortal Kombat 9. Have you gone back and looked at Mortal Kombat 9? Like,
it's bad.
Like,
when it comes to those female characters,
like Sonya Blade has like triple Q boobs, and they're like stuffed into a combat vest, and it's like, I mean, the only one is that Melina should probably be dressed like a stripper, but like that's just
she's the only character that works for her.
Yeah,
and Johnny Cage,
right? In any case, okay, so NetherRealm, this has actually been known for a while, but NetherRealm has decided that they wanted to make their characters look a little bit more realistic,
like a person,
yeah, and that the lady characters' outfits are no longer quite as revealing as they used to be. I mean, if you look back at Mortal Kombat 9, like all of like Kitana, Melina, Jade, and who's the other one?
Scarlet was
maybe Scarlet.
DLC,
I mean, they were basically all just wearing bathing suits, right? Yeah. So Mortal Kombat 11, they toned that down, and they're basically all wearing like skin suits. I kind of think it's still really sexy because you could still, I mean, you could still see all the curvy parts,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Also, though, I'm in the minority, or maybe the majority. Who knows? I'm in that group of people who is like, I don't fucking care if a video game turns me on or not. Like, I just don't care.
Yeah, I'm not playing Mortal Kombat because I want to fuck Jade.
Right.
I'm playing Mortal Kombat because I want to murder somebody and maybe fuck Sub-Zero, but that's different.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, so the only argument that okay, listen, the only thing that I will say is that the developers said that they made the lady characters a little bit more covered up because it wouldn't make any sense for them to just go into a fight in a bathing suit. However, Kano doesn't wear a shirt through most of the game. Johnny Cage doesn't wear a shirt through a lot of the game. I do get that argument that, like, you got a lot of bare-chested dudes and then a lot of, like, women in super tight suits. On the other hand, it's so hard for me to get on board that other side because it's just kind of gross. Because I don't think of this as... I don't think of Mortal Kombat as a sexy game. I think of it as just like a game I like to play.
It's not
right?
Dead or Alive is the thing.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't designed to be like a fucking jerk-off game.
It's just, I have a really hard time with a straight face coming to make an argument about why Kitana's tits should be bigger. Like, why are Kitana's tits not bigger? Like, even if you take the swimsuit stuff out, and it's just like, why isn't her tits bigger? Why does she look better in her face? Why isn't her face more fuckable? And I'm like, I can't do that.
It's like, I'm not having this conversation.
I'm not going to do that. So, you know what? I think that the ladies in the Mortal Kombat, I think they look fine.
I think they look great.
And I think that...
I just wish Jade had some more green on her costume, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's my only real issue with it.
Yeah. I mean, one of my biggest issues with it is that I feel like there aren't enough alternate costumes. Like, some characters like Scorpion have like a shitload of weird and different costumes, and then some characters like Frost, it's like there's 4 models and there's just a shitload of different colors for each of those models. Like, I kind of think that it would be nice if there were more creative ways. Like, I don't understand why Frost doesn't have a classic costume that makes her look like she looked like in the other games. But in any case, this one I can't, you guys. I
can't stand by this.
I don't have anything to say about this outside of just don't buy it. I mean, there's this weird argument about how, like, inevitably whenever this, not sexy enough argument comes up, it tends to be, a lot of times we've seen it where, like, a publisher will tone down sexiness. Like, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE had some, like, stuff kind of changed to make the main character a little less sexy than they were in the Japanese version. For this one, though, it was like the developers decided to do this, and then I see the rebuttal being like, well, SJWs forced them to do it. It's like, well, even if they did, the developers did this. Like, it wasn't like in Japan, Mortal Kombat 11, they've all got quintuple Ds, and that they're all wearing stripper costumes, and then Sony made it so that when they published it in the West, they're all wearing hijabs, right? Like, it's not that entirely. So,
look, if you think they're not sexy enough, there's a reason why Rule 34 exists. Just fucking go to the internet, do whatever you want from there. No one gives a shit at that point.
Yep. Okay, last but not least, I put these in order of, like, most considered to least considered to least
this one is the one I knew you were gonna bring up.
The Mortal Kombat 11 Jax is a racist ending of arcade. So in the arcade mode, when Jax wins, he uses the powers of blah blah spoilers to basically undo American slavery, yet keep his family and live happily ever after. And apparently on Reddit, they've decided that this makes Jax a racist.
It makes no fucking sense.
And the only argument that I can see to this, why it makes him a racist, is because, well, he didn't undo like all slavery. What about Outworld? There's still slaves in Outworld. All he undid was American slavery. Come on, Jax. What do you just don't care about people who aren't American? And I'm like, again, guys, I can't be part of this. I can't.
It's not an argument.
Like, I can't. What are you doing?
Like years ago, like it's like there was a meme or something where it was like, it's like the argument against Mortal Kombat was it was too violent, but now the argument against Mortal Kombat is that racism is bad. It's like, what?
I don't really.
Or slavery is bad.
I don't understand this argument. I know that I know that by talking about the boobs and this, there's going to be like 8 downvotes on this as opposed to the normal like 1 or 2.
A troll started this. I 100% guarantee you. A troll was like, what can I do to piss off the internet in the best and stupidest possible way? And somebody saw that ending and was like, perfect. Well, and then threw that shit at a Trump supporter and then went from there.
Well, see, the thing is that when I read the article about this, when the idea came up and it said like, oh, over in a Reddit thread, I was like, oh, over on Mortal Kombat Reddit, it's like, no. On Kotaku in Action, there is a thread about how Jax is a racist because he rewrote history so there was no American slavery. I'm like, I can't. I just can't. And so
deal with it.
One of the problems with this stuff is that there's just like, there are like 5 different things that we just talked about that are all going on with Mortal Kombat 11, right?
Like actual things.
And like some of them are for real, and some of them are Jax is a racist. And I can get behind the like, okay, well, Warner Brothers microtransactions, you ruined your game by doing this thing, and like I hope that it's fixed and blah 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 blah. I can't get behind Kitana's tits and Jax is a racist. Those are the ones I can't get behind.
I'm more willing to go with the fucking tits argument than with this fucking argument, though. Because this argument is fucking ridiculous. I don't know, like... I almost said the hard R word at this point. Like, I was this close to saying it until I realized that's very offensive now. Because it is.
Anyway, you know what? I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning, right?
This is why we're all failing American history, by the way.
No. Here's the thing. I'm going to throw a bone to this side of the argument, right? Okay, 2 things. 1, this is why I say don't pre-order, right? Is because if you pre-ordered the game, you already gave them their money before you found out that the tits were too small and that Jax is a racist, right? So don't pre-order until after the game has come out, and then you find out that Kitana's tits are too small and that Jax is a racist, and then you don't have to buy the game, right? Because the only way that you can make your displeasure known in this industry is to buy the game. Nobody cares about how many upvotes your weird thread on Reddit got. You have to not buy the game. So there's my argument this week for don't pre-order a game, is because then you can read the reviews and find out whether or not Kitana's tits are big enough for you to buy the new Mortal Kombat game.
I'm fucking dying over here, by the way.
That's all I got to say.
Oh my god.
That's all I got to say.
It's a great argument against pre-order.
I mean, who knows? Maybe
Holy fuck.
Yeah, don't pre-order. Maybe it turns out that
Jesus Christ.
Don't
pre-order because Jax might be a racist.
Maybe Norman Reedus is an SJW in that new Hideo Kojima game.
God.
Don't pre-order it.
Don't watch Endgame because maybe Captain America's racist. Who knows?
That's right. So anyway, yeah, Mortal Kombat, a troubled game. Right now, I like Injustice 2 better. We'll see what it's like if the towers get actually fixed or not. I don't care about how big Kitana's tits are. I do like talking about them, though. Speaking of Avengers, let's talk about Fortnite. Because Fortnite has an Avengers. They brought back Thanos, except this time it's Thanos and then his armies, and then you've got it looks like some Avengers shit that the players can get, like Captain America's shield and Hawkeye bow and repulsors and the Stormbreaker. I kind of feel bad for anybody who gets Hawkeye's bow.
Yeah.
That's the 4th one.
Yeah, Hawkeye's bow, I guess. Okay, cool.
But great. At least somebody's tying a video game into the largest media launch of all time. I would settle for a trailer for that Square game that they're making.
Oh god, yes.
Remember?
I love that.
Remember that?
I just wish they would have came out with that THQ game years ago when the first Avengers was supposed to come out.
Or if they could have synced up the launch of
Ultimate
Alliance 3.
I don't know why they didn't. That actually would have been a great idea, but yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they originally were going to, and they just couldn't meet that deadline.
Possibly. I mean, that's almost certainly that's what it is, right? Well, that and the fact that the MCU seems like they don't give a shit about cross-promotional tie-ins with other stuff.
Well, they just make phone games.
Right.
Like, that's what all people do nowadays.
Yeah. All right, so we got some more Fortnite news. We got a smattering of Fortnite news. Okay, Fortnite had an update that came out a little while back, and it was a change so that when you're playing the Battle Royale mode, when you kill somebody, you get some health, some shields, and then they drop some loot, right? And apparently in the last update, they reverted this back to the way that it was before, where you have to like literally chop down the trees and you have to heal yourself manually and stuff. A lot of people have been mad about that, and this week Epic made a statement where they basically said that like the problem with this update when they looked at the numbers was that the top 10% really loved it, and the bottom 90% were literally stopping playing Fortnite because it became because somebody who was on a kill streak was just like constantly getting their health and their shields recharged, and then like you're constantly dealing with somebody that's just maxed out.
Yeah.
So the better you are at Fortnite, it was like the better you are, then the better you'll do, and the less chance anybody has to get around it. So that's the rationale. Apparently, there's still an arena mode where you can still play that way. It has the charging shields or whatever. I haven't played Fortnite in a long time, but
I think I played it once and then I stopped immediately.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. If you're into Fortnite, good job. Speaking of Fortnite and Epic put out a really weird statement last week where they basically said that if Steam will change their monetization structure to the 88-12, 88% to the publisher, 12%, or 88% to the developer, 12% to the platform, that Epic currently has, because with Steam it was 70-30, right?
Yeah.
Steam got 70, or the developer got 70, Steam got 30, right? And then one of the reasons for the Epic Store was that they changed that so that the developers were getting more money, etc.
Yeah.
So they said that if Steam was to change their monetization structure to the 88-12 that Epic has, Epic will stop buying exclusives for the Epic Store. Which
that's the throwing the gauntlet down is what that is.
Sort of. It's so weird because I think that the Epic Store is so fucking strange because as near as I can tell, they don't need any of this money. Like Fortnite is just a money hose.
Somebody wanted to troll Steam and they were like, we have all this money. Let's see what happens.
We can just do whatever we want to. So, yeah, apparently, here's the quote. Quote, if Steam committed to a permanent 88% revenue share for all developers and publishers without major strings attached, Epic would hastily organize a retreat from exclusives while honoring our partner commitments and consider putting our own games on Steam. Not only would they back off buying exclusives, but they would literally consider putting a game like Fortnite on Steam if the split was 88-12. So
what the fuck?
This is bizarre.
This is incredibly bizarre.
Like, apparently Epic has so much fucking money that they can just afford to do weird shit on principle and like rub Steam's face in. I mean, honestly, let's be clear here. Like, still, most of the games that come out every week come out on Steam. Like, it's a handful that are over on Epic, but this is weird.
This is incredibly weird. This is like a fucking schoolyard argument that somebody's doing. This is just fucking odd.
This just seems strange. Like, Epic has shareholders, right? The shareholders would like Epic to make the maximum amount of money that they can, right? So having their CEO say, hey, if you change your monetization structure, we'll back off of this shit, would make them less money. It would seem like their shareholders wouldn't be interested in having that because everybody knows that the shareholders want to make as much money as humanly possible. So this is just, I don't know. It's just bizarro.
That's fucking strange, actually.
I would like, though, to see how Steam responds to that.
I'm curious myself.
Speaking of bizarro, Overwatch has a brand new mode that they're adding into the game. Overwatch Workshop that will apparently give players some limited development tools to make essentially game modes like the ones that they put on arcade. It won't let them I don't think it'll let them edit the geometry or anything in the game, but it will let them set up very specific rules for it. It's really crazy because there's actually been a handful of people who have already made kind of variants. So one of them was this bumper version where it's just nothing but wrecking balls, and then there's just an area that they have to come into and they have to constantly be in ball mode and then knock each other out. So it's kind of a weirdo thing. There's one that was like Lucio skate from one place to another as fast as you can, like a time trial. One person managed to put the entire game in third person instead of first person.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things apparently that you could do with this, because you can like change the camera. Like some person even made like a top-down version of Overwatch.
Like Diablo, basically.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really interesting things that you could do here, and I think this is really, I don't know, it's kind of nuts. Like, it'd be interesting to see some of these variants maybe
to be a sniper on that stage, though.
Oh yeah, some of these variants make their way into Overwatch League or somewhere like that. But yeah, that's coming out. I think it's currently on the test server, but should be coming out pretty soon. But in any case, yeah, somebody made like a super hot version where when you stop moving, it slows down time.
Oh, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Some people made it so that the payload has a magnet so that it constantly moves towards one person.
Oh,
like is it Jeff Kaplan is the guy that does all the things. He even said that like you could take. So he said people have complained about how random heroes a lot of times will give you an unbalanced team, so you don't have like damage and healing and tanks. Well, you could probably build a custom rule set that basically made it so that it was random heroes, but random with these particular heroes if there aren't enough tanks. We're going to backfill you in with a tank type of thing. So, yeah, I don't know. Kind of good stuff coming from Overwatch. I'm still...
Good for Overwatch. They're still going strong.
Still like Overwatch.
They murdered Battleborn, and they're still going as strong as ever.
They drank the Battleborn blood.
Stole its soul.
Speaking of going strong, Anthem is not going strong.
Fucking Anthem.
Because last week they had their first big 1.1.0 patch update that added a few things. Apparently it added like a dungeon. It added a like the ability to change stuff out without having to go back to the fort. A few kind of quality of life things.
It's like a normal thing that happens in every other game.
Right. But then the big thing that happened was apparently they announced that they're not going to be able to meet their roadmap that they put out. So
those poor bastards.
Yeah. Apparently they also had a live stream. I didn't actually see this and I didn't read any news about it, but I was watching a video where apparently they had a live stream and the people that were on the live stream started to get like snippy with the live stream because the people in the live stream, they were there to show off the new dungeon.
Yeah.
And the chat on the live stream was like, what about loot? What about loot? What about loot? And they were like, we can't talk about loot. We don't have any information about loot. Like, and they're like, well, what about this? And they're like, we don't have any information about that. And apparently it just got to the point where they started getting a little snippy, which of course endeared them to the internet, right?
Yeah, God, you fuckers.
Everybody loves it on the internet when people get snippy with you on the live stream. I know.
Don't worry, sir. They're saying boo earns.
Yes. So yeah, apparently Anthem is not going to be meeting their roadmap, and
they've killed themselves at this point. Like they destroyed themselves.
Yeah.
This fucking. Oh my God. You did it. You blew it up. Damn you.
I think that at this point they've got one more chance, right? If Dragon Age 4 isn't like the greatest thing ever, then maybe even beforehand. Who knows? The other poor thing is apparently like Anthem was made by Edmonton, and now Austin has taken over all of the like updates and stuff for it.
God.
So it's like this poor fucking BioWare Austin studio has to be like, oh Jesus Lord in heaven, what are we supposed to have done by May? What, are you fucking kidding me?
I feel so bad for everyone involved in this.
I don't feel bad for EA, but then I never do. So
yeah, but they're not really the ones that are taking the hit on this, though.
That's true. That's very true. I don't know. I mean, as I said before, I had fun with the single player time that I spent with Anthem. It wouldn't be my game of the year. It wouldn't be even close to game of the year. And I would never recommend it at full price, but like I had fun with what I played of it. But
it's probably one of the bigger disappointments this year.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. Well, speaking of disappointments, Nintendo came out this week and basically said that if you're looking for a hardware revision on the Switch at E3, you ain't gonna find it because there may be something going on, but what's the quote? Quote, as a general rule, we're always working on new hardware. We'll announce it when we are able to sell it, but we have no plans to announce this at this year's E3 in June. Of course, the wording there makes it sound like maybe later, later in the year or something like that. But if you're looking for Nintendo to drop, a big hardware bomb at E3, not going to happen. Now, if you're looking for Square to just drop a bomb or like a poop bomb the way they normally do, they're going to be having their presentation on June 10th. Apparently, they're still going to be doing that. I don't know what the fuck they're going to be showing.
Quiet Man 2 or whatever.
Final Fantasy 7, you think?
Hopefully.
I mean, they're done with 15, right?
Yeah.
14
they
is
15. Kingdom Hearts 3 is done. So
Just Cause, latest one out. Nier Automata, maybe Nier Automata 2.
maybe we'll get the bouncer too.
announcement?
Who knows?
That was The Quiet Man. I'm convinced The Quiet Man started out as a bouncer game.
I wouldn't be surprised. For the audience who don't know what the bouncer is, by the way, it was an old beat 'em up game that looked like it had Kingdom Hearts characters in it. Basically,
Pretty much.
it was pretty amazing. It was a PS2 game. Shit goes batshit insane pretty quickly.
But yeah, Monday they're gonna be having it on Monday. You know, Sony and EA are both not having conferences on Monday, so it's like, oh,
Square
good.
Enix's time.
It's Square and Xbox. Okay, I mean, you know,
Everything's coming up, Millhouse.
what do they show? Dragon Quest had their new game that came out last year. Final Fantasy 15 has had all the DLC in the world, and it's done. 14 has had all the DLC in the world. It's got to be 7, right?
I would hopefully be
Kingdom Hearts 3 is out. Like, The
Maybe
Quiet
they're
Man is out. Just Cause is out.
Maybe they'll announce a new game. Maybe we'll get that Avengers trailer.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I just hope it's better. Square sucks at doing live shows.
They're
But their
awful.
live shows fucking suck.
So bad at it.
The only thing is, I don't know, that if Square could make Konami do a live presentation, then at least it wouldn't be as bad as Konami.
That's true.
Konami has the worst fucking presentations ever.
There's another pachinko machine.
Yep. Anyway, and then last but not least, so last week we had, I think it was last week we had the story about the PlayStation 5. The specs for it came out.
Oh,
They
okay.
talked a little bit about it. Also, when it comes to E3, don't expect any PlayStation 5. Apparently, they were talking about. There was a tweet from Takashi Mochizuki who said, no next-gen PlayStation launch over the next 12 months. PS Now has been 40% annual growth since launch, blah, blah, blah. I mean, just a bunch of other stuff. But the big thing is, within the recording of this podcast, you're not going to see a new PlayStation for at least a year.
Yeah.
At least. So. But don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom, because we might be seeing something next month about Death Stranding if Hideo Kojima's comments at the Tribeca Film Festival or anything to be he basically said that he basically talked a little bit about the game. There's some real weird he's saying some weird shit. He's saying some real weird shit about this weird game. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm all that's you're saying it like it's surprising.
Nope, not at all. But we might be finding out some stuff about Death Stranding next month, which would be fine because was it been like a year and a half since the last trailer or anything? What was it? Was it E3 last year? Was there Death? Yeah, there was.
There was, yeah.
And then was there? What was the one with the gold mask guy? Was that later?
That one was the later one.
Yeah, and that was the last one that we got.
Like a lot of weird, like it was more gameplay looking.
Well, that was the one that had the $6 million woman on it, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and then she announced that she was in the game as well.
Something like that.
Because that was the one that actually showed him walking with the body, and he ripped off the toenail, and everybody was like, "Oh!"
Yeah, everyone was all grossed out by it.
Yep. All right. We're going to have to kick it into high gear here because we're almost out of time. Sega announced 10 more games for the Genesis Classic that they're putting out. Those are World of Illusion with Mickey Mouse, Castle of Illusion, Thunder Force 3, Super Fantasy Zone, Shinobi 3, Streets of Rage 2, Earthworm Jim, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Contra Hardcore, and Landstalker.
Yay, Sonic 2 again.
That's 20 out of 40 games that are going to be on there. We'll find out. I mean, I don't know. If you don't have one of these little consoles, it seems like a pretty good lineup, right?
It's a decent lineup so far.
So, on to trailers. Persona 5 has a trailer for the Persona 5 The Royale. We finally got a full trailer instead of just a teaser for it. We got to see there's going to be a new character. There's going to be a new area. There's going to be some new NPCs. There's going to be a new kind of storyline that shows up in the third act of the game, or in the back third of the game, I guess. Makes me glad I didn't finish Persona 5.
It makes me. I also didn't finish Persona 5. I hate that I didn't finish it, but it does make me a little glad I didn't.
Yeah,
because I did the same thing to Persona 3. Actually, I didn't finish the original 3, but I finished the extra version of that one.
Oh, the PSP one,
and that was FES, I think was what it was called.
Yeah,
it was a PS2 game still, but
okay,
yeah, because Persona 4's was on Vita.
Yeah, Golden was on the Vita. But yep, so. There's a bunch of new stuff coming if you're into Persona 5. I mean, there's also like a new bar with some new mini games in it.
Yeah.
I mean, all just looks like more stuff for Persona 5, right? Normally you would expect, I guess,
things that your cat's going to tell you can't fucking do because you got to go to sleep. That
That's
fucking cat asshole.
You're so salty about
I'm
that.
so mad about that. I have so many late fees on those DVDs that I had to get for
So
the stats.
salty. Anyway, it's coming out in Japan on October 31st. I don't think we have an actual U.S. release date for it yet. But probably at some point next year. So probably 2020 before it comes out. Also, for those of you waiting to hear about Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch, it's been rumored, it's not happening. No, instead you're going to be getting Persona 5 The Phantom Strikers, which is a Musou game, a.k.a. Dynasty Warriors.
Gee, it sounds like a soccer game. Super Mario Strikers.
Yeah.
That was my first thought when you said Strikers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, and there's a trailer, short teaser out for this. It looks an awful lot like a fucking Dynasty Warriors game.
But I like the style of it so far, though.
Yeah, I guess the thing is that
It looks classy.
I think I'll play it a little bit, but I don't want to, like, I'm wondering if it's a full-on side story, if you're going to be, like, ruining things that happen in the back 2/3 of Persona 5 that I never got to.
Yeah, I guess
So,
that's
like,
true.
do I need to play Persona 5 before I can play Persona 5 Scramble the Phantom Strikers? I mean, like...
That's a really good question, actually.
Anyway, it's going to be on the PS4 and it's going to be on the Switch. And I don't think we have any kind of release date for it just yet.
It looks like it's pretty early stage.
Yeah. Something that came out of nowhere. We had a trailer for Black Sad, Under the Skin, which is a 1930s noir detective game, but all the main characters are animals, like upright walking, like furry style animals. Main character's like a cat, and there's it's just every animal. Like there's like bisons and walruses and just monkeys and all kinds of stuff in here. But it's like the tone is like super serious.
Yeah, they're all like anthropomorphic because it's not like Zootopia kind of like animals, or it's more like BoJack Horseman type of animals.
Kind of, yeah.
Like they're all anthropomorphic. Nobody really looks like they have tails or anything. It's really, really interesting to look at.
Yeah, but it's got it's got a very good style to it. Like all the graphics look incredibly good. And all like the voice acting and the audio and stuff from this trailer. I mean, I don't know. I'd never heard of this game before. That was just like, what? This is great. I want to play this.
Really interesting, actually.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. That was on the PlayStation channel, and I think it comes out. There was a release date on that. Was it September? Yeah, September of this year. Go check it out. I don't think there's enough noir games. I think LA Noire kind of like fucked us a little bit.
Yeah, there are not a lot of games like that, and even some of the best ones haven't really popped up anymore.
Yeah. We also got a trailer for the Starlink Battle of Atlas Crimson Moon expansion, which is coming out. Starlink, of course, being the toys, games, Ubisoft thing. They actually stopped making the toys. But this is going to be a new expansion with a new planet, which looks somewhat generic. But if you got the Switch version, apparently you're going to be able to play as the rest of the Star Fox crew, because apparently Nintendo doesn't want to make Star Fox games, but they'll just let Ubisoft put them in their own games.
Make better Star Fox games.
Yeah, it's weird.
Use Rage Flex Champion Slippy.
No, never Slippy. But you can use Slippy now if you want to, but don't use Slippy.
I still can't believe we beat Star Fox 2 with Slippy.
Believe fucking Slippy. And then last but not least, in the trailer arena, the makers of Planet Coaster, the spiritual successor / way better version of Theme Park Simulator, are making a new game, and it's basically zoo park. It's a zoo simulator.
It's a Matt Damon simulator.
Yeah, it's called Planet Zoo. You can make a zoo. It looks like, it basically just looks like Planet Coaster, but with a zoo instead of a theme park.
Which I'm all for.
Sure. Between this and like 2 Points Hospital and Planet Coaster, City Skylines, I love to see like all these games that I guess, those used to be like EA games, right? Or were they
used to be, I think if I remember correctly, it was EA.
And now it's just like everybody's like, well, we still want to make zoos, and EA apparently is not done selling us expansion packs with dogs in them for The Sims, so fuck it, we'll make our own zoo game.
We'll make our own everything else game.
Yep. And you guys
not like crazy as shit and online at all times.
But like the thing about Planet Coaster is that like it always like you can play it offline, but it is kind of online because they do this weird like sharing.
Yeah.
It has full Steam Workshop support, so people go in and make their own things and they put them up on the store. I'm like, EA, you are foolish. You're foolish fools. Like, does anybody still play that last SimCity that came out that was like?
I haven't heard anyone talk about it.
Like when there's such a thing as City Skylines. My fucking dad plays City Skylines. Like, and as near as I could tell, did they ever fix SimCity?
I don't even know.
Because you would have like multiple cities. You'd have like, you know, like the only way to make it work was you had to have like a city that was all like industry and then a city that was just garbage. It's like Trashville that only dealt with like the waste from the other city. Like, because they wanted everybody to play these like multiplayer groupings. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Planet Zoo coming at some point. Yeah, looks good. All right, and last but not least, let's do a couple of announcements. Hey, do you want DLC for Devil May Cry 5? Well, too bad. You can't have it.
Oh.
Apparently, Devil May Cry 5 production has been wrapped up, and they're not going to be making any additional DLC for it. So it's kind of what you see is what you get. So
Still a pretty good game, though.
yeah. However, if you want DLC for the release today, Days Gone, apparently there's going to be some free DLC. It seems like it's mostly a higher difficulty version that turns off like fast travel and the map and some stuff to give you a more kind of like nitty gritty. I mean, you know, the people like to play Fallout with like hunger meters and shit like that. So, yeah, that's going to be coming out. As well, Katana Zero, the wonderful Katana Zero, is going to be getting some DLC. Free DLC that does a little bit more story and then also a speedrun mode pretty soon. So
that's cool.
Yeah. And last but not least, we got a couple things for fun. So here's a story that you might not have heard. There was a Super Smash Brothers tournament happening. And the guy that went to the losers row and then he like fought his way back up into the brackets to do the finale. When he won, something whizzed past his head. And when he looked, it was a crab that somebody threw at him.
Somebody threw a crab at a guy at a Smash Brothers tournament?
Yep. It was a dead crab. It almost hit him. This is Hungry Box on Twitter. And apparently when that happened, he turned around and just started yelling at the audience. He was like, what the fuck, man? And then,
I'd say that too. I'm like, what was that a fucking crab?
And then apparently he apologized on Twitter, which I feel like is completely unnecessary. He said, sorry for losing my temper. Someone threw a fucking raw crab at me after a 5-set losers run. Barely missed my head. What the fuck, man? Anyway, GG's, no clue how I won that. And then the organizer basically said that they know who did it. They're going to be perma-banning the guys from any of their events in the future. I'm just still wondering who the fuck throws a crab. You need to bring the crab.
Yeah, where did he get the crab?
Yeah.
And where was he storing said crab?
Yep.
Without it. Okay, sure.
Yep. So
Maybe he had like a cooler with it? I don't know. It's fucking weird.
Who throws a crab? Who throws a crab?
Honestly, who throws a crab?
And last but not least, okay, so I stumbled on this yesterday. This isn't even part of like the gaming news, and this has probably been out for a little while yet. I have found the coolest thing that I want in the world, and I want to share it with you all.
Crab launcher?
It's a crab launcher. You put one crab in the back, you hit the button, and it throws it Evo, Smash Brothers, you like Super Street Fighter.
You parry it and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you see Daigo's epic crab parry? You just haven't lived. That's like moment 55 at the...
Shit, damn.
Yeah. No, okay, so everybody knows Raspberry Pis, right?
Yes.
Raspberry Pi, little computer. I got
Very
the
tasty.
Genesis.
Gives all the games.
Got myself a little Genesis. Fit a little Raspberry Pi in there
to make Mortal Kombat characters sexier.
Yes,
kind of thing.
Apparently, you got the boob slider. Anyway, I've already made Michael look at this, but I'm pulling it out again. So I've got my Raspberry Pi is in a little Sega Genesis case. This Genesis case is made by a company called MegaPi. That's down there at the bottom. So MegaPi has a brand new thing. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the Raspberry Pi is about, I don't know what, the size of like an index card, right? There's another Raspberry Pi, or there's another Pi release that's called the... oh, God, what the fuck is it called? Hold on, I don't want to show you this until I tell you everything about it. It's for the Raspberry Pi Zero, okay? So the Raspberry Pi Zero, you can look at this, is a much, much smaller version of the Pi. Like, people have made Raspberry Pi Zero builds where they fit like inside of an NES controller. Like you open an NES controller, gut it, put the Pi in there, put the HDMI out on it, and then just like run it to the TV, right?
Huh.
So MegaPi, who makes these fucking beautiful cases, which if you need a case for your Raspberry Pi, get one from MegaPi, has made a case for the Pi Zero.
I'm looking away.
No, you can look over here.
All right.
And it is a Game Boy.
Huh.
It's like a slightly smaller than the original form factor Game Boy. And where the cartridge is like this loader that you put the Raspberry Pi W in and then put it in. It's got 4 face buttons. It's got a start and select button and a D-pad on it. It's got, headphone jack out, speaker. It's even on the back. It's hard to see in these. It's got these 2 buttons that are literally L and R buttons that are right on the back of it, so you could play stuff with like a Super Nintendo L and R buttons. And it runs off of 3 AA batteries, and it's even got like a safe shutdown script and everything. So the Raspberry Pi Zero can't actually do all of the emulation. Like it's a little rough to do Super Nintendo because it's very lightweight, right?
Yeah.
But they're sold out at the moment. But this case is $69. Like it's $70 for this whole case, and you put the whole thing together with a screwdriver, and then you can play. I mean, you might not be able to play every Super Nintendo or Genesis game, but you can play every Nintendo game or like Game Boy game or whatever. And for about $100 to get that whole thing, right? You're gonna need the Pi Zero. You're gonna need the case. You're gonna need a memory card. That's not a bad deal right there.
Not actually.
And I watched a YouTuber that got one of these, and it's so slick. Like the screen looks so good. It's it's got like a 320 by 400 resolution on it.
Oh.
And it looks really good.
That's kind of amazing.
It's got a speaker, so it sounds really good. It's just, it's just a nifty little thing. Go check it out. It's just retro flag, MegaPi, GPI case. And it's amazing. Like it's a little smaller than a Game Boy. The only problem right now is that they're sold out. You can't get them.
I'm not surprised though. That's kind of cool.
I kind of want to get in touch with Retro Pi and see if they will send me one, even though I don't do these sorts of things on here because it looks like a really solid little build.
That's
and you
fucking cool.
Yeah, and it sends you like a screwdriver and everything you need to put it together. Like it just snaps all together. You still have to do all the software stuff yourself. But and then not just that, but they make a Pi Zero W that has integrated wireless and emu station that you use for doing emulation on there. You can literally like dump ROMs onto it wirelessly. The only thing that I think is a downside is that, according to the guy that did this little review, it's only got about 3 or 4 hours worth of battery time with 3 AA's. So it does eat your batteries up. But anyway, go check that out. I don't know. This shit's awesome, and I like it.
That's pretty cool.
In any case, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to read some emails, so stick around, and we'll see you in just a minute. Questions?
Yes.
Okay,
good. Was that the question?
That was the question. All right, thanks everybody. That's our show for this week. No, mail at rageslate.com is the email address. Our first question this week is a long one, very long one. It's more of a response to us talking about crunch time a few podcasts back.
Oh, okay.
This is from Toby Fitzsimmons, PhD. Well, first, last name, and title and everything.
Yay.
Dr. Fitzsimmons, who writes in and says, Dear Jeff and Michael, in past episodes, most recently 296, the crunch time workplace atmosphere present within the video game / film industry was talked about. Sadly, this dynamic is not unique to the entertainment industry. I'm employed with a multinational organization where marketing can be crunched to meet deadlines for large platform advertising campaigns. Managers and team leads are crunched to hit quarterly financial targets. Deliveries for products can be crunched as different vendors cancel mid-delivery or demand more product than what we have available. However, resistance to blunt these crises and effective management has been a positive reinforcement for change. Personally, I deal with crunch times throughout the year in an agricultural role within the same organization. For example, working all winter, organizing vendors for trial experiments, coordinating deliveries of seed, directing meetings and setting experimental goals, adjusting projected financial spends, and more. All for it to blow up in your face because weather, disease, human error, or corporate red tape forces you to make a series of rapid decisions that you carry forward. Some ideas work and others don't. In my time, I have seen growers desperately planting seed while floodwaters of the Mississippi River rise by the minute so they can claim the crop insurance or risk destitution. Often 18-hour days will be the norm to get pesticide and fungicide applications on the crop or risk crop failure. And this does not include the challenges of harvest, experimental sampling, processing, and other factors that are part of agricultural life. And this crunch will not change because so much depends on things you can't control, like the weather. I hate crunch like most everyone else, but I recognize that it is necessary in some areas. However, development for games like that of many consumer goods relies on the effectiveness of the management to bring the product to bear. If crunch is the norm, then there is a fundamental problem with time and resource management that needs to be solved. It requires firm direction from leadership of what the team is capable and not overpromise. It also mandates that investors be more realistic of financial expectations. It also demands that those within the industry be more vocal and resistant to crunch time atmospheres to maintain proper work-life balance. Lastly, it necessitates players being okay with waiting for a game to be of quality and complete. All do not have to happen at once, but positive movement must happen in some of those areas for change to occur. Thoughts? Thanks, and keep up the good show from Dr. Fitzsimmons. Dr. Fitzsimmons sounds like he's way too smart to be listening to Rage Select.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a dissertation is what that was.
Oh, man.
I am not a college professor, and I do not have time to... I do not understand your question, and I will not...
His question is, thoughts, question mark?
That's basically what it was.
So,
and I am offended by your question. I'm just kidding. No, your question had too many syllables in it.
But Dr. Fitzsimmons, what about Kitana's boobs? No. So, okay, the thing is that, yes, I take his point that, I mean, you know, just about every industry that everybody works in, right, there are times and places when shit gets backed up and, like, you've got to hunker down and work overtime to try to get some shit done, right? Like, I've had multiple jobs. I mean, fuck, man, retail, right? Like, you're trying to close up for the night and then you get, like, a big group that comes in and they all want to buy a bunch of shit and then you got to stay after for an hour. You know, the main issue is not necessarily that crunch exists. It's just that in the video game industry, it seems to be the norm.
It seems to be like 90% of the day.
Right.
Which is ridiculous.
So many. Well, and that, see, the thing is that I've never been in crunch, but I have been I was on one video game project that started and I was in the planning phases. And the thing is that everybody's very lackadaisical and we're all having a great time during the early phases, right? Yeah. But then it comes time down to the end and suddenly it's like, oh shit, where did all the time go? We got to get this shit done now. Which that to me is more the problem that I have than the fact that there is ever crunch at all. Is that the fact that it should be expected, or, you know, a lot of this comes in response to what those articles from Kotaku and was it Jason Schreier talking about, like, the quote unquote BioWare magic where, like, everything's going to be on fire and then in the last 6 months everybody's just going to fucking work themselves to death and put out a good game. Well, that's not a good culture to have, right?
A terrible just way to live, to be honest.
Yeah. Also, I mean, like, this ties into a thing that I don't like a lot, which is the practice that we see a lot of the video game industry of, like, when a product ships, they dissolve that team and, like, most of them have to go find another job somewhere else because the product that they made shipped out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I fully 100% agree with you that you know, people have to work. Crunch as a concept is not evil, but thinking that everything, like, it's the normalization, right?
Yeah.
It's just, to me, like pre-orders and no returns and all that bullshit that I rail about on here, where it's not necessarily that the concept is bad. It's that it's become so normalized that when you say you shouldn't pre-order a game, a lot of people just kind of look at you like, wait, what? Why? You always pre-order a game. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't pre-order anything else in your life. Like, you don't pre-order bananas before you go to the store to make sure they don't run out of bananas. You don't pre-order. So that in its own way is kind of what I'm railing against. Is not necessarily the fact that it exists, but the fact that it just seems to be just a thing that is accepted, right? It shouldn't be accepted. It should be the sort of thing where if it happens once, that's fine. Or if it happens once in a while, that's fine. But if every single game development ends with this hell time for people, then then maybe we should be looking at why. Why does every development cycle end with this horrible, soul-crushing crunch? I don't know.
Because every job has something that's like crunch, like you were saying. Like I work call center stuff, and sometimes there's days that are just batshit insane, and everybody ends up staying way later than they were going to, or they missed their breaks, or they just didn't take lunch that day,
right?
Kind of thing. But shouldn't be a normal thing. Like if I had to do that every day,
you go find another job.
Fucking mind.
Yeah.
Like I would just fucking like walk the fuck out, kind of thing. And I'm amazed that in gaming for some reason they're just like, that's just the thing. I just had to sleep under my desk. That's normal. It's like, no, that shouldn't be a thing at all.
Yep. Like I used to work in a call center, and we had a thing where it was like one of those days in Texas where it was going to ice over, and so they were looking for volunteers to essentially sleep at the call center and then get up to do the early morning shift, because they knew that it was going to be tough for people to get in because the shifts started at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I worked the last shift before it all switched over to overseas. So I volunteered to do that. But if they wanted me to do that once even a month, fuck no, I'm not doing that. I mean, there's just limits as to how much, and not to veer off too hard in another direction, but over the years, I feel like I've seen more and more people in more and more industries subjected to this style of thing because, and again, this is not me throwing my hat into the Democratic National as a candidate for president in 2020.
As is everybody else
that's what I'm doing. Yep, I'm like Elizabeth Warren, except I run a video game website. It's like Elizabeth Warren's Let's Play website. No, I would punch Beto though. Just punch him.
Just punch him right in the face.
I not even for any real reason.
Face.
It's just, this is a skateboarder. I mean,
I guess that's fair.
He's just kind of smug.
Get him in his smug, handsome face.
But in any case,
punch
it's like
that perfect job.
I feel like over the years that I've seen a lot of my friends and a lot of the people, because I kind of got out of the workforce right around when this stuff started to get really gross.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of my friends that have to scrape harder to find shittier jobs that pay less and want more of their time. In fact, I was even listening to, you guys all know that I'm a fucking commie liberal, right? Like, you all know that. the Katana's tits thing should have, and I try to keep that shit out of Rage Select, but there was I was listening to a podcast last week with the Ezra Klein over at Vox, and they were talking about how when Slack was introduced, how Slack was supposed to free us from having to be chained to our desk and doing stuff, but it's almost done the opposite, because when you work in an office and something important comes up on the Slack channel, no matter what you're doing, you feel the need to put your input in there just so that management can see that you're contributing, and so
I use mine for memes.
Yeah, good. But I mean, the thing is that I feel to talk to Dr. Fitzsimmons, that this concept has gotten pushed outside of the video game industry into more and more places, of just people having to put up with more inconvenience, longer hours, less pay, more competitive jobs. Especially since the financial crash, and this is not to go off on a tangent, but and I personally think that that same podcast I was listening to had a lot about a lot of people nowadays define their value as people based on their job, right? It's their job that defines who they are and how good they are at their job, and that determines how much money you make and all this stuff.
Well, one of the main reasons it happens like that, because it's 80% of your life.
Right.
It's 80% of your day is I got up and I went to work, and that's most of my day. So sometimes that's what happens.
Yeah.
I'm fighting against it constantly. I'm constantly oh, well, they didn't recognize that I did this thing constantly. But then it's why the fuck do I care?
Yeah.
It's that doesn't fucking value me in any ways. After this, I get home, I play with my dog, and I play video games. That's the part that I enjoy more.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, for a lot of people who don't like their jobs, just going for a paycheck and then being expected to put in this fucking over and above because somebody else fucked up somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't kind of sticking your craw. I don't know. I volunteered to work, back in my call center days. I used to, there was one year where I worked over the Thanksgiving holidays because it was double time and a half for 3 days. and it was a Thanksgiving weekend, so nobody was calling in for computer support. There was like 80 calls over the course of an entire day from 6 a.m. until like 2 a.m. So you just sit there and collect fucking double time and a half.
Yeah, there are people that at my job right now, they bring their Switches on holidays and just play the fucking Switch all day.
Oh, dude, I mean, I think I've said this before, but like, the reason that I finally quit like the call center game was because like I didn't need to be paying attention. I knew how to do my job. I'd been doing it for like 5 years. I was fucking great at it. And then I got put on a new team with a new manager, and he didn't have his office cubicle set up yet, so he sat behind me, and he told me to stop browsing the internet while I was on a call because I was watching it's like reading a GameStop review back in the old days. And he was like, hey, you can't be on the internet while you're on a call. I'm like, I'm waiting for a fucking server to reboot, brah. It's going to take 20 minutes. I don't have anything to do. He's like, well, you should be like connecting with the customer. And I was like, okay, I quit. Bye. Like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be like one of the things that, not to go off too far on a tangent, but one of the things I hate more than anything is that bullshit in call centers where like, use the customer's first name and like ask them about the weather. Like, like be personable. I'm like, they don't want to be friends with me. They want their shit to work. And I'll make their shit work faster if I don't have to be like, so Jane, how's your day today? I'll be like, this is going to reboot. It's going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to put you on hold. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Boop, boop. Is it fixed? Yes. Okay. Bye-bye. Like, so.
I'm about half and half. It depends on what time of day it is.
I had like the greatest stats. I mean, this is like being proud of being really good at something that you think is shitty. Like I'm the best person at heating up SpaghettiOs or something. But like,
why SpaghettiOs specifically?
I don't know. You just put them in a pot and then you heat it up. But it was like I had the best stats in my entire section, but I couldn't get my rating up high enough because I wouldn't be personable with people because I was just like, hi, I'm Jeff. What's wrong? Here's how to fix it. Bye-bye. Like, I don't care. I don't care about your family. I don't care about your life. I care about what your fucking problem is. And here's the solution. And get out of here because I want to go surf the internet. Like, I'm not interested.
That happened to me at my first call center. They're just like, your stats are amazing, but you just don't like talking to people. I'm like, look, they came for me to a reason. They have to get back to their lives.
Yep.
I have to get back to the other people who called me.
Yep. All right. So let's see. Brandon writes in and says, hello, Jeff and Michael. Brandon here with one of them questions. What do you guys think of review bombing games? I think it's petty and does nothing but show gamers being babies. I saw on Metacritic, it looked like people were trying to review bomb God of War because it was, quote, overhyped, unquote. Regardless, I hope your week of killing shit in Mortal Kombat was fun. And that's from loyal patron Brandon.
He's right. They look like bitches.
I have a theory about review bombs, and it goes back to one of my little pet peeves. We're really getting on Jeff's pet peeves this week.
SpaghettiOs.
Yeah, SpaghettiOs. All right, so this is why review bombs are like SpaghettiOs. No.
Spells a message. Ooh.
No, it's because they're mostly garbage, but then there's some horrible meatballs involved in the... fuck you, SpaghettiOs. Fucking beefaroni for life. So... The reason that I think that review bombs, I mean, like, I understand why review bombs happen because people are mad, and that's the only way they feel they can express their displeasure. And the way that I feel is it goes back to one of my core philosophical things that nobody ever fucking talks about. I watch all this shit. Jim Sterling and Yong Yeah and the fucking all these people on the internet that are talking about the problem with the game industry. Here's this problem with the game industry. Here's the problem with the game industry. We need to fucking here's how you're going to solve the game industry. I'll tell you how you solve the game industry, Michael. Super easy. Very easy. You accept returns. Like, if you accept returns, then you can't make a shitty game because we'll all take it back and you won't get our money, right? Yeah. It's only this ingrained idea like crunch or pre-orders that somehow you can't return a video game because, well, then people will just buy the game and take it home and beat it and then bring it back the next day. And it's like, not if you make a good game. Not if it's a 40-hour game that's like full of content and that people want to play over and over again and they don't want to return. Like, yes, some people are going to be shitty, but those people are going to pirate that shit anyway, right? Yeah. They're on the Pirate Bay. They're not going to Best Buy to buy your shit. But if you could accept, like, if my classic example is if you could return games, well, then No Man's Sky would have been an abject failure because I feel like people would have bought it, looked at it, went, fuck that, returned it, and then, like, you know, at this point it would cost $1 because it'd be all these returned copies of fucking No Man's Sky. And I think that it's ludicrous that we don't accept returns. And I fully agree that it may eat into the profits But then again, I also think that, what was there it's like a report 3 weeks ago that Bobby Kotick was like one of the most overpaid CEOs in the industry, and fucking Andrew Wilson's the devil. So like, I think you guys should have to take a pay cut if your stupid interference makes a game shitty.
Yeah.
And in that way, I feel like people wouldn't have to review bomb, right? Because you could just fucking take your game back. I mean, people already do it on Steam, right?
Yeah.
They buy a game, they play it. There's a myriad of reasons why they do this stuff, but then, they return it and they leave a thumbs down on the. I hate this Steam review system. Like there should be a medium finger.
There should at least be like, it was okay.
Right.
Yeah, review bombs are stupid, to be honest, because most of the time the actual, like at least nowadays, the actual use of a review bomb is for dumb reasons.
Yeah.
Like that Jax is racist, apparently. That's gonna cause a review bomb kind of thing. Like it's always like nowadays review bombs are for dumb shit, like you were saying. Like, for some reason, they decided to review bomb God of War because it was overhyped. It's the dumbest fucking reason in the world.
Yep.
Like, but sometimes it's like, sometimes there might be a valid reason for it, but it has to make sense in the review bomb, like, for it to be meaningful. Like with Battlefront 2, it's like that got review bombed, but they were all legitimately valid review kind of things.
Sure.
Whereas if you're review bombing because you're like, oh, the SJWs ruined my game, then no one can take you seriously.
Or let's get off of that and say that, like, let's say that you're doing a Metacritic score review, right?
Yeah.
And you got Mortal Kombat 11 and you decided that the towers are bullshit and the microtransactions are bullshit, but then you give it a 0.
Yeah.
Right? Like, to me, there's also a problem with that because, like,
see, that's the actual issue is just zeroing it out,
right?
Because it's not, at that point, it's not constructive.
Well, because, like, okay, listen, if a game gets a 0 and a game gets a 100, the average review score is 50, right?
Yeah.
Like, if people just review bomb a bunch of zeros on a game on Metacritic, then other people, then you get into this bullshit where people are 10ing games that shouldn't have a 10.
Yeah.
And so then it ends up with like a weird 70%. And I don't know. See, the thing for me is I just think, to be honest, I don't look at the reviews. Well,
I stopped looking at reviews entirely after a while.
Or if a game, like, so what I'm always interested in is if you go to Metacritic and a game has like a 90 critic score and a 12 user score, then you have to go in and read these people's reviews to be like, what are you downvoting it on? Is it like, it's always online, 0, always online, 0, always online? And it's like, well, listen, I'm not saying that always online isn't a bad thing. I like it when I can play my games online or offline. I mean, I don't really ever play a game offline, but whatever. I still think that it should be an option. But 0? Like 0 out of 100? There are 100 points of value and 0 and has to be online. Or, a game like Diablo 3 comes out and it's busted for the first week and fucked up, 0. And it's like, well, so I just don't put a lot of stock in them. The only problem with that is that then the upvotes are what Steam uses to surface new games in the like popular new games list.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times there'll be games that are just submerged out of that list that I want to play that I have to know exist. But anyway, hope that answers your question, Brandon. Our next one comes in from Oscar. It's more of a rant than anything else.
Oscar the Grouch.
Oscar says, hey, Ragers, time for my unpopular opinion. Uh-oh. I feel like Devil May Cry 5 was boring. The bosses were easy, the music wasn't great, the story was fine, the mechanics were boring. Every time I beat a boss, it was easy to do, but at the same time, it was hard to tell what I just did. Thought the remake of DMC was a lot better of a game, and so to prove it wasn't just nostalgia, I beat it again on hard. I beat it again. It just says on hard, I guess. Much better time playing it, which is a huge reason why I'm glad Microsoft bought Ninja Theory, because they were able to, DMC was a lot better the game, and so to prove it wasn't just nostalgia, I beat it again and had a much better time playing DMC. Sorry, I mangled that. So anyway.
That's okay.
Which is a huge reason why I'm glad Microsoft bought Ninja Theory, because they were able to flawlessly switch 10 different weapons, where in DMC 5 it was a little awkward. Sorry for the long rant. You don't have to answer these. Just throwing some questions out there. Just wanted to write in and tell me they didn't like Devil May Cry 5.
You just want to make me upset, Oscar, is what you're saying. Is what you're doing.
Walking around my local comic book store, I found the Fight Club 2 comic. I bought it and read it in like a day. Have you read it or heard of it? 2, have you seen High Score Girl on Netflix? It's a calm nostalgia trip growing up around video games, seeing if there were hidden gems you forgot about. And the show reminded you of. Sorry, Oscar, I have fucked up this entire question. From your loyal fan, Oscar. All right, so let's get.
So I'm gonna ignore the first part.
You're gonna ignore the first part?
I'm just gonna ignore the because I hate
Michael doesn't like DMC at all.
I fucking hate DMC with a goddamn passion.
Yep.
It is just the fucking worst edgelord shit imaginable. And
I disagree.
Like the game itself wasn't bad itself. It's just everything else was just edgelordy as fuck. And Virgil was just a terrible fucking character in that game.
I disagree, but that's just me.
I fucking hate that game. We've had this conversation plenty of times, especially offline.
Devil May Cry 5, though. I mean, like,
I love Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah?
I think it's fantastic.
See, at the end of the day, I thought it was like okay. I didn't think it was. I mean, I definitely would put it below 1 and 3. I mean, like, even if you're just dealing with the Japanese Devil May Cries, I don't think that it's better
than 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I told you it was my second favorite.
Yeah.
Of the series, and I thought the music was great. I can't 100% blame him on some of it though.
Yeah.
Like because he was just talking about when you beat a boss, he's like, I don't really know what I did. There was 1 or 2 times where I'm like, I don't know how I got through that, like at all. Like, but that's a lot of character action games, to be honest. So it's just not like I still think Devil May Cry 5 is great. I still think it's worth everybody's time, and I still think the music's fantastic. I like the music, but I have terrible taste in music. So I'm gonna preface it with that.
Musical taste is so subjective. Like there's
super subjective. I downloaded the song for Nero's battle song.
Some people like country music.
Those people don't exist, or they're my dad. Probably just my dad.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of maybe more. See, the thing is that I really like DMC. If I had to rank Devil May Cry games, I would probably do 3-1 DMC 5-4, and that's just because I thought that.
I like how you didn't mention 2 at all. That entire.
Oh yeah, 4-2. 2 is at the bottom. Obviously, we all know that 2. We all know that 2 is at the bottom.
I think that was my favorite part. You're like 2 doesn't exist. There's not a thing.
We all know 2 is the worst.
The anime is better than 2.
Yeah, I mean, I liked DMC quite a bit, so that one's way high up on the list for me. And then I still think that 3 is the best, and I like 1 more than, etc. I mean, I told you the numbers, right?
Yeah,
so
we've got through this.
Yeah. But in any case, I mean, it's fine.
What was the second one? The Fight Club thing?
Have you read the Fight Club sequel comic or heard of it? I've heard of it.
Yeah, I've had no idea that there was a comic of it.
Oh yeah, it's like a sequel. It's like Chuck Palahniuk wrote a sequel to Fight Club, and it's a comic book.
That's so weird.
I don't want to.
I want to know who drew it more than anything.
Well, I'm sure I could. Here, let me see. I can find out. The thing is that I went through my. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. My Palahniuk phase, my Chuck Palahniuk phase, where I read his stuff, and then I realized that every story he writes is the exact same thing, kind of.
Okay.
And also. Haunted was silly.
Okay,
it's I don't know. It's okay. I actually. Oh no, you know what? The last one that I read was okay. Let's see. Artist was Cameron Stewart and David Mack.
Neat.
The last Chuck Palahniuk book I read was his.
I was his ghostwriter.
His 50 Shades of Grey book, where so I think we talked about this on the podcast a long time ago, but let's all be clear here. This book is about a weird Christian Grey millionaire who wants to make sex toys that are so potent that women will stop doing everything in the world but using his sex toys.
Huh.
And so he gets his Anastasia fucker face, whatever her name is,
I don't remember that.
and then makes her have weird, dirty sex all day, every day to collect the data he needs to make the world's most addictive sex toys. So then he does that, and then society collapses because women won't do anything except either fuck themselves with the sex toys or wait in line at these stores to get a replacement when they break. Oh, also there's magic involved because the Christian Grey guy went to this old sex woman on the mountain who taught him all these tantric arts, and then he's like integrated these magic techniques into the sex toys. That's why they're so good. So like in the present, now the men are all running around and they're all mad as fuck because none of the women will have sex with them. They're all just zombies now with their sex toys. And so then the main character, the woman, the Anastasia fart face, she goes to the old sex woman on the mountain and learns all of the tantric arts to seduce the Christian Grey guy to break his empire. And then they have like a sex showdown. And then I think they fuck real hard. And then it's like, he stops for some reason. No, the world is destroyed, I believe, is the way that story ends. This is the last book that the Fight Club guy wrote. It's called like Beautiful Something, and I read this. I read it start to finish.
Jesus Christ.
It is bizarre. Oh God, no. He's wrote. Wait, hold on. No. Short fiction, nonfiction. No fiction. Invisible Monsters Remix, Doom's Burnt Up. Beautiful You, actually, this came out 2014. He's written one. He wrote Fight Club 2 in 2015, 2016. So anyway, I read a bunch of this guy's books. Like they're gross.
That sounded gross.
They're gross.
It also sounded like something a 13-year-old would write.
They're kind of things a 13-year-old would write. Like there's a Choke where it's like, because they made a movie out of that one. Where Sam Rockwell chokes on purpose and he like gets people to Heimlich him, and then they like feel so sorry for him that they'll give him money, and that's how he like makes money. You want to talk? Maybe this is the reason that
describing these things. By the way, these are real things. By the way,
maybe this is the reason that I like DMC is because you want to talk about edgelord. Let's go read some Chuck Palahniuk books, and you can talk to me about who the fuck is an edgelord, because
this is all fair. This is all very
Haunted
fair.
had a sequence in it where this guy is telling the story where when he was a kid, he liked to go down and put his butt on the intake valve in the pool, and then one time when he did it,
that thing,
and it ripped his intestines out. And
It's Always Sunny references that actually.
Yeah, and he used to, when he were doing the book tour for that, he would read that story, and then he was super proud of how many people he could get to throw up every time he read that story. So I'm like, yeah, edgy, huh? All right, maybe we'll go back to that.
That's kind of amazing.
No, I have not read Fight Club 2. I'm kind of done with this guy.
So speaking of High Score Girl,
yes,
I love that show.
Okay,
it is. I never thought I'd be invested in a love story about that centered around fighting games. Mm. Also, it made me want to play fighting games again, and I started playing fighting games again because of it.
Well, there you go.
I really started playing Street Fighter again, and I met some people at work that have a fighting game group they do on Mondays, so I'm going to try to start doing that to get better.
Are they like high schoolers in that show, or are they like middle schoolers?
Well, it starts off with them as like elementary students, and then it's them as they get older.
Oh, okay.
So it actually is it's not like a high school thing. It's just called High Score because it's just games in general.
Sure.
And it goes through the ages of time. It starts with around Street Fighter 2 being out, and as it progresses, it gets to the point where Darkstalkers comes out.
Okay.
So
they're actually using name brand games.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they actually at one point they got sued by SNK because they were using the names without asking them, but SNK was like, okay, we'll let you use the names because you're making us relevant again.
Come on, SNK, be cool, brand.
But yeah, they're using actual name brand stuff. It starts with the fact that he meets this girl because he was playing Street Fighter 2 as Guile like crazy.
Yeah,
and she beat the shit out of him with Zangief, and he's been obsessed with her ever since. And it's kind of amazing.
All right, sounds like it's not bad.
It's actually really sweet.
I'm honestly waiting, and by the time this comes out, it'll be another 4 or 5 days. But at the April 30th, the second half of that Baki show that I was talking about, redonkulous fighting show comes out.
I do recommend High Score Girl a lot, though.
Okay,
immensely. It's a really sweet.
It's been recommended to me on Netflix. I've almost started watching it. It's just the thing is that I got to be sure when I'm getting ready to start watching anime that I'm willing to sit there and watch 12 episodes in a row.
It's got a weird animation as well because it's got that sort of 3D, 2D thing going on with it. But once you get past that, it's great.
Okay, cool. Well, with that, let's take some questions from the Discord. So let's see. Direk Didix asks, this may have been asked, but have you completed playing Doki Doki Literature Club? And if not, would you be willing to do a full sequential playthrough on video? Wasn't making a statement. Oh, sorry. That was part of another conversation. So, have we finished playing Doki Doki? And if not, would you consider doing it as a full sequential. Man, I don't know. Visual novels are a pain. Like, they're
Problem is I already know all the fucking crazy shit that happens in it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to do it myself.
I don't, but the problem for me is that it's just like, oh my God, it's so exhausting to just read the game out loud, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you can't like let it wash over you. You have to read the story, or else it's not going to make any fucking sense, right?
Plus, I think it's been played to death by a lot of their Let's Players at this point.
Yeah.
So I think the moment's passed, honestly, in that instance.
I mean,
Unless you just want to see what Jeff's reaction is more than anything. That's really the only reason at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. Visual novels tend to be kind of a hit or a miss thing with me. Like, some I like and some I don't. But
if it's not Phoenix Wright, I'm not really into it usually.
Problem with Doki Doki is that it tends to be more Japanese, which means that they just like overstate everything a million times, when like you could probably have gotten through this conversation in 4 minutes instead of like 15. But that's just me.
It has a weird like turn is the thing about.
Oh, I'm sure. Game Theorist has a bunch of videos about that, and I've seen the thumbnails for them, and I realize there's probably some. I know there's some.
It's crazy.
There's some fucked up shit going on in there, but I've intentionally like not spoiled it for myself. But on the other hand, I don't know why, because I'm not.
Yeah, because I don't see you playing that anytime soon, or at all for that matter. But
Yeah,
like I got all of the stuff that I know about it at this point, because Game Grumps did like a whole thing on it too. So.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that if we were going to do it, the problem was that when we played it because we thought it was just like a visual novel, right?
Yeah.
And then we started getting towards the fucked up shit, and it was like, maybe, but the problem... Okay, so here's the problem. I am not made out of infinity stones. I do not have all the time in the world. Like, so the problem with a visual novel is that you can... A lot of times in a visual novel, it's like you can look at it and you can be like, man, something fucked up is going to happen here. But I don't know if it's going to happen in like 12 seconds or like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And like, if it's going to happen in 12 seconds, cool. But I almost feel like there should be a meter on the screen that's like, something fucked up's going to happen like at the end of this meter, so that I know not to stop. Because so many times we've been playing a game and people have just been like, oh my God, you stopped right at the best part. And it's like, well, how was I fucking supposed to know? It's like, especially when we've been playing for 45 minutes, like that Zenki Zero game.
Oh, yeah.
Amanda and I played an hour of it, and then as soon as we hit the stop button, it went off the rails, which is why there's a Matt video for it, you know. So I don't know. Maybe. I'm never say never, but the main issue is not necessarily anything outside of the fact that when it comes to visual novels, really the only thing that we can do is read what's on in funny voices and do some commentary, and it's exhausting. Like, I don't know why it's more exhausting than just playing a game and talking is, but it's fucking exhausting. And then also, you just never can tell how long this shit's going to be. So. Yeah. Let's see. Puffin Stuff asks, what do you think? Why do you think the toxic get good culture started around the game Dark Souls? Thinking back, many other difficult and unforgiving video games, even the predecessor Demon's Souls, had their share of players and fan bases, but without the added stigma around completing a game a certain way. What do you think made Dark Souls fans themselves so corrosive? And that's from Puffin Stuff. Any thoughts, Michael? I know the answer.
No, the thing about get good, like mindset, is it didn't really start with them. It actually kind of started more with fighting game people, because that was my first interaction with the idea of get good.
Yeah,
is fighting game people were fucking crazy.
That is true,
and they're very much part of the get good kind of thing. And what happened was that, you know, eventually a game came out that also had that sort of like timing mechanic the same way fighting games did. And what happens is the same thing that happens a lot of times, is that culture started growing in that instead. And I feel like that's really what it comes down to.
Me personally, I think it comes from a good place, and then it turns into a bad thing. Is that, you know,
it starts off as a nurturing kind of thing. It's like, well, this is how you get better, and to the point where it's like, no, you just have to get good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
also the same thing with fighting games.
It's also so weird to me that it came up around Dark Souls and even Demon's Souls, because all of those games have summoning your friends in to help you. Like, they've always had a way for you to not have to, quote unquote, get good. But I think that originally it started out because, you know, people conquered something that was a major challenge. And I'm somewhat sympathetic to the idea that a lot of people had of games being easier Like, I feel like there was a place, I don't think it's as dramatic as people make it out to be, where games, especially in like the PS3, Xbox 360 era, were getting to a point where they were letting the player off with, oh, do you want to skip this scene, or
was
like,
really
do you want to
bad
put it
for
on
a while,
evil or
especially-
easy, or
Especially from the sheer amount of shooters that were coming out at that point.
Yeah.
They were all just like, go this way, go this way, go this
Right.
way, go that way.
where, I mean, like, the main thing is that a lot of those older games, you can't just play them on autopilot. Like, you didn't have to really concentrate on it. You just like,
Yeah.
all right, blah, 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 like, and so then something like this comes out, and it's so unflinchingly difficult that when people conquer it, when they learn what they have to do, like, it's a sense of accomplishment, right? It's
Yeah.
like, you did something very good.
Sense of pride and accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Yep.
I couldn't resist saying that.
But then as it's gone on, I think that the craving for that pride and accomplishment has turned into something that they feel like they must have, right?
Yeah.
Is that if the next From
if you
Software,
don't earn it like that, then fuck you.
well, or that, like, let's take out the community aspect out of it. Let's say that you gained a huge sense of accomplishment for beating Dark Souls 1. And the other reason is that when Dark Souls 1 came out, I've always said this, I don't think Dark Souls 1 is quite as hard as people make it out to be. But the media, oh my God, the media.
Yeah.
Like, the idea that when you, like, okay, when you die in Dark Souls, right, it puts you back to the last checkpoint, and all the enemies in front of you respawn. And I remember reading people who were pretending like this was the first game in the history of every game respawns the enemies when you go back to the checkpoint. Call of Duty respawns all the guys that were there when you die and go back to the checkpoint, right? Like, what game doesn't respawn the enemies between the last place you were checkpointed and further forward, right?
Well, what made it more difficult wasn't even just that. It was the fact that, like, you would lose all your shit and you had to get back to it.
You
That's
know,
the hard part.
The thing is that it's definitely not the first game where you lose XP from dying. That's been a thing that's been around as well. Like, it's funny
Well, it
because
was the first time in a long time.
yeah,
That's really what it comes down to.
I'm not even willing to concede that. Like, there's some hardcore JRPGs out there that will fuck you if you die a bunch of times.
Yeah, but those are all RPGs.
Well, Dark Souls is an RPG.
Is it though?
Hey, you got stats, you build
I
them
guess
up.
That's fair.
You know,
I never really played them that much, so I only played Bloodborne a lot.
in any case, I think that what happened was that you felt a large sense of pride from overcoming this thing that everybody had agreed was just like the hardest motherfucking thing that we've ever seen. I mean, we call shit the Dark Souls of insert a word, right?
I still love the fact that Crash Bandicoot is the Dark Souls of platformers for some reason.
So,
like, what? Oh, sure, okay. Well, okay.
I think if you
Never
put
played
in
Super Mario Brothers 2, The Lost Levels.
I think if you put in a lot of time and effort into a thing and then you succeed in conquering it, that, like, then people want to maintain that sense of accomplishment, and somehow they see it as like less special if other people are able to get to the end of this thing. Like, the fact that there is a gate there to keep means that their sense of accomplishment remains like sacrosanct, because you do have to be able to play Dark Souls at a certain level even if you summon people in to get to the end of the game and beat the last boss, right? So if for some reason that game had an easy mode, which they don't like,
Yeah.
then that would mean that somebody who didn't put in all of the time and effort, I mean, it's weird, but you can kind of understand it, where it would almost seem like your time and effort was a waste because now some jerk off could just come in here, put the game on easy, walk all the way to the end of the game, beat it, and like they get to see the ending, right? Unfortunately, I also think that's kind of bullshit, because it goes back to a thing that we've talked about a bunch of times over the years, which is the way I play a game or watch a movie or read a book or enjoy anything in life should have no effect on the way that you play a game or watch a movie or read a book or enjoy that thing, right? Like, but it doesn't. If you don't like avocados, they're going to be like, what? You don't like avocado? Why don't you like avocados? They're the best. Oh, my God. You know what? I'll make you my guacamole. You've never had it? Nope. It's super good. No, I know you don't like avocados, but I will make you you will like my guacamole. All right. No, just hold on. And you're like, no, man, I don't like them. Is that happens all the time. I mean, I was talking about it in the chat where, we were talking about with Mortal Kombat 11, where it's the internet. If you don't like a thing, somebody's going to be there to be a stand for that thing and explain to you all the reasons why you should like it, until you're forced to either just be like, okay, or, you know, just get mad at them because they'll never stop telling you that you have to like Fallout New Vegas. Now, at this point in my life, it turns out that people were right. But one of the reasons that I never gave Fallout New Vegas a second chance for a long time was because people kept insisting that I must like it, even though I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, please respect what I'm saying. On the other hand, if you like a thing, let's take a common example, like here's an example, like Fallout 3 Bethesda, there's a million people out there who will tell you how that game is garbage and like, what the fuck, you should be playing Fallout New Vegas, this isn't nearly as good, blah 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 blah. Like, goddamn, just talking about The Last Jedi over the years, and it's just like,
oh, it's impossible to talk to anybody about it.
I mean, you know, the thing is that it's fine. This started for me way back in the old days, right? Because I was always like, you know, I think The Dark Knight is okay. And people are, why do you hate The Dark Knight? I'm like, I didn't say that. I just thought, I think it's okay. I don't think it's the greatest movie I've ever seen.
I still remember that guy walking up to you randomly at a bar.
So tell me about, I had somebody walk up to me randomly during a SpillCon saying, like, why didn't you think that The Last of Us was 5 out of 5? And I was like, well, I said it before, but I'll tell you all the reasons. Here are all the reasons. There's like, well, I disagree with you. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, man. Like, you're fine to disagree with me. I didn't go to game school. I'm just a fucking asshole with a YouTube channel. Like, who gives a shit whether I like a thing or don't like a thing?
Yeah, we're not like paid for a lot of different things. It's like, we're not actually, yeah. We're just some dudes.
So that's why I personally take the stance that if they put an easy mode into Sekiro, I'm fine with that. Like, I think that what I think is
Although
that
4 years ago, I would have been that dude who got into an argument like that.
what I think is that if Miyazaki doesn't want there to be an easy mode, legitimately doesn't want there to be an easy mode, fine. But I don't think that it's Miyazaki. I think that it's the culture that has been built up from Software games over time that has created this idea that if you did put an easy mode into Sekiro, that your audience would be mad as hell, right? Yeah. Even if you told them, go back to Mortal Kombat and the boobs thing, even if you told them, I'm the guy who made this game, it's my artistic intention, I want more people to be able to play this game, I would like to put an easy mode into this game, that the fan base would never let it go, right?
Oh, no, absolutely
They would be up your ass constantly about like, well, this is fucking bullshit. I'm never buying a From Software game ever again. Oh, so just anybody can play From Software games now? And it's like, well, yeah, because every other game is like that except for From Software games.
People don't care about artistic integrity in that way. Like, did you ever hear that story about Ray Bradbury?
No.
He was, like, years ago, he was at, like, doing a speech or something at a college, and a guy asked him about the meaning of one of his books, and he tells him what his meaning was, and then the dude tells him that he's wrong, that it actually means something else. He tells the author of the fucking thing that he's wrong about it. It's like, you guys don't give a fuck about artistic integrity. So it's ridiculous. I got into an argument with a teacher that way. I was like, what if he just like he was talking about painting. So, well, the red means this. I'm like, what if he just like red? He just ran it a blue.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what it comes down to for me, though. I back way up from all this stuff on a daily basis because if I look at it for too long, I just get sad. I'm just like, why can't everybody play Dark Souls? I think that's great. You know,
it's fantastic. Like, you should be able to.
It's a good game. And the thing that I keep coming down to is that, again, nobody's mad that Doom has 4 different difficulty variables.
No.
Nobody's mad that Mortal Kombat has 4 different difficulty variables. Nobody's mad. In fact, you know what? Mortal Kombat's harder than most games I play, but like most games have variables. And I'm not saying that I think that if you put Dark Souls on easy, that you should just be able to walk with invincibility from the beginning of the game to the end of the game and then kill Gwyn in one hit. I think that you can make a mode where you take less damage, do more damage, have more health, and get more health back from healing items.
So what you're saying is it needs a Funky Kong mode.
Yes.
Where you just outright use Funky Kong.
No. Golden Tanuki suit for Dark Souls.
Oh, absolutely.
Just jump in the Golden Tanuki suit and run through the entire Undead Burg. No, of course not. Of course I'm not saying that. Anyway.
Although I do want a Funky Kong mode in Dark Souls because I think it'd be funny.
Let's see. Marmal asks, what would you consider a kart racer? Actually driving go-karts or having boosts, projectiles, and other weapons? Being able to drive karts would include Gran Turismo. However, having pickups would land Wipeout in that category. What's you guys' thoughts? What's a kart game? What's not a kart game?
Kart games are those little fun kart games kind of thing. Like
Is Gran Turismo a kart game? It's got kart racing in it.
Well, it's not only karts is the thing. Like if it has to have that sort of only the kart itself and having the CC and all that stuff, because that's really what sells the kart game.
So you're saying both is your answer. It has to have both karts and power-ups and pickups and stuff.
It has to, or like it has, like at least in my term of kart games, it has to be like, you know, the Crash Team Racing, Mario Kart, the fucking weird like
Sonic
different
Team
ones.
Racing.
Yeah, because those have that sort of kart look, although they have their own actual like cars kind of thing, but it still follows the same formula.
Okay,
is the thing is it's a specific, it's like a genre thing. It's like this is the formula for a kart racer, quote unquote. And like there's even like weird Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon versions of these things all over the place.
Oh yeah,
there's a Lego one too, I think, at some point.
Yeah,
like the kart games, like that's what they are. They're just these weird, wacky things. They're like wacky racers almost.
Okay,
thing. Like that's kind of what I feel like a kart game is more, at least nowadays.
And I don't care. No, and my answer is whatever. It's got to have the word kart in it. That's all I care about. I don't. I mean, I like Mario Kart, all right, but like I'm not super into racing games in general. So I guess I don't like kart racers. For me, just fall under the subcategory of racing, and it's like you just put whatever you want to in there because if it's got wheels and it moves forward, sure, it's a racer.
Yeah,
I don't care. Jonathan Scratch says, in honor of Mortal Kombat 11's release this week, I've got a truly stupid semi-hypothetical for you. What would the main Rage Select crew's fatalities be? Who would have a friendship or a babality? Would you incorporate Puppet Jeff into it? I must know these things. I mean, you know, mine would obviously be I fight as regular Jeff, and then when it comes to fatality, I reach behind me, pull out Puppet Jeff, and then he does the fatality. He just grabs their head and rips it off. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. Oh, no. And then he puts his hand up into the puppet head like Johnny Cage does in his fatality. And he is like, hey, everybody, welcome back to the dojo. I'm a dumb idiot head that got ripped off. And then it says fatality. That's
a tough one.
Yeah.
I have a Captain America shield at home. So I feel like my fatality would involve that. Like
I feel like you just...
like a Kung Lao fatality, basically, but with the shield.
What happens whenever Michael wins around is he just like... he like uses his magic and puts his hand on his shirt, and whatever superhero is on his shirt jumps out of his shirt and then does a different fatality depending on which outfit you're using.
That does sound pretty rad.
Could be Spider-Man, could be Superman, could be, you know.
I feel like a mana would have a friendship that would turn into a brutality.
Right. It's like a rainbow that chops somebody's head off or something like
it
that.
Would be like do you remember Kung Lao's fatality in Shaolin Monks?
Nope.
Where he would take his hat off, pull a rabbit out, and then it would do one of two things. Either he would beat you to death with a rabbit, or it would jump out and attack the person.
Okay.
And so I feel like that's kind of like what she would have, essentially.
I feel like Jason would have to like create a flamethrower or like build nunchucks or like build like a thing that was a flamethrower that had like nunchucks and like a...
That or you would summon Brian Brushwood.
Or he just summons Brian... No, or he just like puts his hand up in the air and Brian Brushwood flies from off screen and his hair impales the other person in the heart. It's like that Scorpion fatality, but it's just got Brian at it. And then like Brian yanks his head out and does a card trick on him. And that's
oh my god! Like the Noob Saibot fatality, where the pops out and they both like rip a person in half.
No, he hits a button. And it does the modern rogue thing, and then it's like a catapult that has been made that shoots Brian, or like a big potato. It's a big potato gun that shoots Brian Brushwood out, and then he impales him with the hair, even though he doesn't have the hair anymore.
Oh my god!
Yep.
I think John's and Matt Frank's would definitely be like related to their many hobbies.
I mean, Matt Frank has to turn into a Godzilla,
absolutely,
and then do an unboxing video directly onto them or something like that. I don't know.
I think John would just turn into a Power Ranger.
Yeah.
No, his would be wrestling related.
It had to be wrestling related, right?
Have to be wrestling related.
He just puts on like a luchador mask.
He puts on a luchador mask and just fucking suplexes the dude in the ground.
Yep.
Or, oh God, you do so many things with John's.
Mm-hmm.
So many things.
So many things. I think that's our normal roster of regs, right? I don't know if I want to keep going too far on this one. We don't have that much time left. We got a few more questions.
There's so many other people we could say right now.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there are a lot of people who drop by Rage Select from time to time to play video games. So
I can't stop thinking of that Jason.
You know, Chris comes by in the reg. He can like turn into the One of Us monster, right? And then just
or he would turn into a cat.
Yeah. He could turn into the One of Us monster.
He would turn into the One of Us monster. That's one. The other would be he would like just just he would snap his finger and cats would
Cats
just
fly off
appear
everywhere.
and just start mauling them to death.
I want him to turn into one of us monster and then like review the person.
I got a great one.
It's a 0 out of 10, and then they just explode.
I got a great one. He pulls out a giant pile of DVDs and just starts throwing them at you because you've seen his house. He's
No,
fucking covered in DVDs.
that would just be like one of his special moves, right? Is throwing DVDs.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So
They'll call it the digital noise.
so I hate everyone. So shut up. Asked about is there any part of MK11 you guys don't like? I think we went over that.
Well, somewhat, but there's one other thing I would like to bring up. Ronda Rousey is awful.
Oh, Sonya?
She is so bad.
So, but the thing is, Sonya doesn't have that many lines, so like it didn't really bother me all that much.
It bothered me whenever like she would talk, and then immediately like one of the professional voice actors would talk.
Yes,
because you're just like, oh yeah, you're so much worse than they are, so much worse.
Again, my ear is fucked up, so I don't really hear quality of voice acting unless it's really bad, and it's not that bad.
It's bad,
But hey, you know what? I'm all on board with like, don't put celebrities in your shit. Hire Nolan North to just do all the voices and be done.
Like, just have gotten the person from the last one, and it would have been fine.
Septum Sin writes, "Dear great Rage Lords, with Avengers hitting theaters, spoilers abound, and so those working hard to avoid them. I haven't seen this level since the last Harry Potter book. Have there been any media that you were extra concerned over spoilers? Your patron Septum Sin." So you got to see it already.
Yeah, I already saw it.
I'm off Twitter because the Twitter sidebar with trending, it's going to be like hashtag Ant-Man in the butthole, and like hashtag can you believe that Thanos was actually a Kree spy or some bullshit. I try to make up the most ridiculous things just in case I accidentally wander into something that's for real, like hashtag can you believe Superman came from that other dimension and helped them beat Thanos, like
I'd watch that movie.
I can't I'm going to be off Twitter, and then God help me, I will not be typing anything into Google even remotely Avengers related. So
I don't know. Yeah, like actually story-wise that I tried to stay away from.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Especially since a lot of them are.
Well, you don't have to.
You're
You're inoculated. You saw it already, right?
No, but I mean like other stuff because he's asking like what is the like another one that you were like trying to stay.
Have there been any media that you were extra concerned over? Oh, over spoilers. Oh yeah, sorry, I misread that. Oh yeah, I fucking hate the Game of Thrones shit. Like Game of Thrones, it's like fuck's sake, man. Like especially because people feel like they're allowed to start posting Game of Thrones spoilers like 2 seconds after the show ended, and it's just like. I mean, listen, y'all. I know that there's going to be a certain subsection of people who think I'm being really bitchy about spoilers. Here's the thing about a spoiler. Once you have told a person the spoiler, then you can't untell them the spoiler. And you may not care, but some people do care. Some people have been looking forward to this moment for a long time. So that's the reason that I get so bitchy about it.
There was a few games not too long ago, but the problem is I can't remember. Like, I know Uncharted 4 was like that for me for a while.
Somebody on Spill accidentally guessed the end of BioShock Infinite in a comment.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yep.
And my friend accidentally figured out the ending of Infinity War and told me that, and it was in my head when I watched the movie. I'm like, God damn it!
I'll tell you what, I don't have any sympathy for though. So you remember when Westworld season 1 came out? And there were subreddits. There was somebody who wrote this fucking dog shit article that was like, I spoiled the end of Westworld season 1 because the subreddit for Westworld was actively trying to figure out every week what was going on in Westworld.
Oh.
And then somebody actually figured it out and it made a lot of sense. And the person was like, oh, that was what happened. Well, fuck, I got spoiled. It's like you were on a board devoted to trying to figure out what was going to happen. Like there was a good chance somebody was accidentally going to figure something out.
Those are my favorites. Though I think my favorites are when somebody guesses it and they're downvoted to shit, and then like years later it turns out they were right the whole time.
Yeah,
like a dude guessed the ending to How I Met Your Mother.
Oh,
and that's exactly like they downvoted him to like Kingdom Come, and he was right the entire time.
How I Met Your Mother. I'm trying to think of. I mean, like for the most part, games are so long.
They're much harder to spoil.
Yeah.
But,
also, because the experience of games is...
The Last of Us was one that I actually was able to stay away from spoiler-wise for a long time, surprisingly, because I didn't play The Last of Us for a long time.
You know what's funny to me is that I don't, like I said, I don't even know what happens at Doki Doki Literature Club. I don't know what happens at the end of Undertale. Like, I've seen memes for
really?
it, but I've never played Undertale, and I don't go looking for it, and so. But then again, like, if you just wrote one sentence that was like, what happens at the end of Undertale, I played the first 30 minutes of that game. Would I really be like, oh my God? Or would I need the context of the rest of the game in order to really understand what happens at the end of Undertale? Like, could you spoil it for me in one sentence?
Are you asking me to?
No. I just, like, do you think it would be possible? Like,
With Undertale, not entirely.
yeah.
Because there's enough nuance in there that you wouldn't be able to. I think the last games that I've been trying that have always been really good about steering clear from spoilers are the Ace Attorney games.
Oh yeah,
because after a certain point, like, if you know what happens, it's not as exciting,
right?
Because like I didn't know the ending to Part 5 originally, and when I finished 5, I remember when I found out who the murderer in the end of 5 was. I literally dropped my 3DS because I was so fucking shocked by it. I was like, "Fuck!" like I just didn't expect it. But like once the evidence made sense, I was like, "It could only be that fucking person."
My God,
it was amazing. Like, but I love shit like that, and I try to steer clear of that sort of thing if it is a mystery type kind of game.
Sure.
And I think those are really the only times it really ever comes up.
I think it's
a mystery.
It's harder with a lot of games that don't have something like BioShock Infinite, right? Like,
yeah.
or The Last of Us. But even with The Last of Us, I almost feel like you could tell me what happens, like that thing that happens at the very, very end of Last of Us, like the last shot. But like, there's still a whole emotional component to like what happens in the last mission that is conveyed by like the actors and the actions and what's going on. You could literally tell me that stuff, but I don't know if it would actually be as bad. Whereas, like, you know, a thing like Game of Thrones or Endgame or, you know, some of the stuff that comes up like that, it's like, well, with Game of Thrones is a very twisty show, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could tell me what happens at the end of Lord of the Rings, and I don't think, like, you'd be like, turns out that Frodo's overpowered by the ring and he can't throw it in, but then Gollum bites it off his finger and you're like, oh, okay. Okay, cool. I still think I'll watch it though. Like, there's a whole getting to that point that I want to know. Some stuff, it's like, in order for somebody to spoil it for you, you'd have to be willing to sit there and listen to them tell you the story of the entire thing from start to finish.
Endgame is, to be honest. Like, because Grant had got part of it spoiled, apparently, from like reading something, and Martin outright just told him, like, and I agree with him after seeing it. He's like, the only way you could truly spoil Endgame is if somebody sat there and told you the entirety of that 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Because so much shit that happens in that movie that it's nigh impossible to truly get spoiled by that movie.
It's why I'm a little bit pissed off about the Game of Thrones thing, but not super pissed off, because I know that every episode of Game of Thrones has like a million things that happen in it. So I know that some things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, also my brain is damaged from alcoholism, so I don't have a very good memory. So if I just kind of jingle my keys in front of my face for a little while, I'll forget. It's not that big a deal. All right, let's rapid fire through some of these slots. I'm going to save your question for next time Michael is here. Or, you know what? This is a quick one. Slots just says, hey, Jeff and Mike, who were your most favorite and least favorite Gundam characters?
Oh, oh boy.
Just give me quick answers here.
Loved Domon Kashu.
Okay.
Amuro Ray. Char Aznavour, of course.
Right.
And a good chunk of other people that I can't think off the top of my head. Flit. Asano, I really like him from Gundam Age.
I said one.
Terrible people.
Yeah.
Fuck Bowery. That fucking the Gundam Reconquista and Mask, because both of those characters are fucking god awful.
Okay.
Frau Bo, not all that great into. Also, fucking Kira from Gundam Seed. That dude is fucking just plot armor all over the goddamn place. Fuck that guy.
I like everybody. I like everybody in Team Gundam, and then I hate the girl's brother. He sucks.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
And that's. It's been so long since I've watched
people.
Char's counterattack. I don't remember. I remember Char and Amuro Ray and, like, you know,
Gundam
that new type lady.
I actually, it's not even a character. I fucking hate the Gundam Alex because of what it causes happened in the Gundam 0080.
And I hate all the wings.
That thing makes me so sad.
All the wings can bite it. All those little fucking Bishi motherfuckers can bite it. Steven says, "G'day, Jeff and Mike. Quickish question this week: is there a film, movie, or game that you finished and thought, 'Holy cow, that was the bee's knees'? Then the more you thought about it, the more the afterglow wears off, and the less you like it. For example, and no spoilers here, but I recently saw Avengers Endgame. Leaving the theater, I thought it was awesome, but after digesting it for a few days, the more I feel like it was just okay. Has something like this happened to you?" Longtime listener and proud patron Steven.
Plenty of times, actually.
Absolutely. 100%.
That happened to me with the Ghostbusters reboot.
Oh, yeah?
Because like when I first watched it, the nostalgia like hit me like a ton of bricks. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, this character wasn't all that interesting, and this character wasn't all that interesting. And they only caught a ghost like once the entire fucking movie. Like I started thinking about it more and more, and I was like, you know what, that movie was just okay. Like I didn't like go into like, oh, it's the worst thing ever, but I think there's some movies where I had not the exact opposite reaction, but a lot of them come from superhero things or just things that I have nostalgia for in some way. Like Man of Steel, there was a part of me that really liked it when I first watched it, but the more I thought about it, it was that thing. But that was the thing; it was a nostalgia thing, where it's like it's the first Superman thing, and it was also poking the Dragon Ball Z part of my brain with the fight scenes, and it was just like this was great, except for the ending part at that point. But like I said, the more I watched it, the more I was like, oh, this is garbage.
You know what? I fully I'll never live it down, and I'll never deny it. But I fully bought in lock, stock, and barrel with the fucking Star Wars prequels. When I went to go see Episode 1 for the first time, I was just like, fucking shit, yeah, woo! And it wasn't for a long time that I was just like, shit, yeah, woo! Like I went to go see when Episode 1 came out. I was in Ireland trying to get a job at Dell in Ireland. Didn't try that hard. I actually, they gave me an interview, and then when I found out how much they wanted to pay me, I turned it down and came back to America. I should not have done that because I was stupid. But in any case, I had a lot of time to kill because I'd like go on interviews and wait for somebody to call me, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So one of the things I used to do was I would go into downtown Limerick in Ireland, and there was like an Americana hamburger place, and so I'd get a hamburger, and then next door there was a theater, and so I would just go there and watch the matinee of Episode 1. I just watched it every fucking day. Like I used to just watch it every day.
That's amazing.
Just go get some lunch and watch Episode 1. And I love the fight scene at the end with the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and the Duel of the Fates and stuff.
Good, though.
Yeah, and
the best part of that entire movie.
And as it went on and on, I was able to convince myself that it was very good, and then when I got to the end, and I was like, You know what broke the spell was the first time that I saw Episode 3, and the no, like it was like a seed of doubt was planted in my brain with that one undeniably bad take of the no scream, and then I was thought about it just like, yeah, but it was a really shitty no scream. We're like, wait a minute, there's a kid. Wait, hold on. The Gungans are terrible. Wait, hold on. Anakin Skywalker's
like the end of Usual Suspects.
Right, yeah.
Just dropped your Star Wars bug out of your head.
Yep. So, I mean, but yeah, I'm with you. It's happened to me both ways a bunch of times where sometimes I'll see a movie and I'm like, yeah, it was okay. And then it grows on me over time.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll see a movie and I'm like, that was great. And then I've realized years later that I'm like, oh, I never want to watch that again. Here's a perfect example. I thought Scott Pilgrim was so-so the first time I saw it, and I love it. And I thought that, like, The World's End was super great when I watched it at a theater, but then, like...
Yeah, that was the one that I was like...
Probably liked not as much as time has gone on.
Since, to be honest.
Yeah. Mostly it comes down to movies like that where I saw them, and then I just never really watched them again. Like, I remember not hating Star Trek Into Darkness when I saw it, and then, like... I haven't watched it for years, and I don't plan on it. Like, I'd rather watch Beyond or the original, but not that one. So, all right, let's zip through two more here. We got Josh writes in, says, hey, guys, just wanted to get your professional opinion on PSVR and maybe VR in general. Is it going to remain a niche market thing, or do we see it becoming an integral part of gaming in the near future, possibly even with the PS5? Keep on raging from Josh. I think it's going to remain niche for a while. I think somebody has to put out a really killer app, and I don't think there's been a really killer app.
It really comes down to that, because right now it's niche because no games are really doing anything with it. Like the last really big game that did something with it was Resident Evil 7.
I disagree I disagree with that. But then I play a lot more PSVR games.
No, but I don't mean like the thing is like I mean like the AAA people more
Sure.
than anything. Like I don't remember the last time it was really announced.
I see what you're saying.
Because there's plenty of people that are doing things with it, but the mainstream audience doesn't know any of that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like there was just a few games. I mean, Super Hot VR is one of the greatest games I've ever played in my entire life. Like
it's fantastic.
That shit's fucking amazing. But like, we just had that Falcon Age game that comes out, a little Falcon and stuff. But yeah, I get what you're saying is where there hasn't been like there was that E3 where it was like Resident Evil 7 all in VR. Star Wars Battlefront is getting the VR mission, which is still one of the best VR experiences of all time. Is that Star Wars Battlefront X-Wing mission? I really wish they would just make a full game based around that. So yeah, I mean, I think that until the problem, of course, is that it's like developing for the Kinect, right? Is one of the reasons that the Kinect development was so shitty was because why would you make a game specifically for the Kinect and limit yourself to just the people who have a Kinect and not just make a game for the 360 that everybody who has one can play? Even though the adoption rates for PSVR and VR in general on the PC are higher, also goddamn Oculus has split the market, right? Because they want everything on the Oculus to be Oculus exclusive. So they're boning everybody with their horse shit. And the fact they're making that Vader game. Like, I'd love to play that Vader game, but I'm not buying an Oculus to play it.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: is I think it'll generate enough income to remain a niche thing, but what they really need is for what you just said, for a AAA developer to develop like you gotta play this AAA game built from the ground up for VR.
Yeah.
And I think that's just what they gotta do. And they're not doing it. Last but not least, Chels writes in and says, "Hello, Jeff and Michael. Quick question for the podcast. I'm interested in learning how to draw/paint. I'm not trying to create a career out of it. I just want to introduce some more creativity in my life. Do you have any recommendations in terms of books, YouTube channels, etc., to help me get started on the basics? Is there any one technique that I must know? I've been inspired most by graphic novels like Persepolis. P.S. Do you foresee any future midnight launch streaming sessions for any games? I love those. Best," and that's from Chels. I don't know what's coming up soon, to be honest. My main problem is that last week with that Labo video that got fucking just fucked me, and then I've been spending this entire week like I had an intro planned for the Hand of Gilgamesh video that came up today, and it's just like it got fucked up, and there was a problem with it. And I'm just like, no more. We'll just start over next week. We're gonna start over next week. Next week we're gonna come back. Easy intros,
Fresh
no
faced.
Labo videos, no bullshit. Just fine. Do you do any art stuff?
Not particularly. I was more of a writer at one point.
Okay.
But honestly, there's actually quite a few good YouTube channels and stuff out there. This sounds like a joke, but it's not. But the Bob Ross videos are actually still like amazing for that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was very good about teaching about painting and for people in general. And I think it would be a good place to start, to be honest. If you want to just do like paint.
Let's see if I can find some of these. So, okay, let me say, there we go. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Yeah, there's a good one. Okay, let me tell you some things. Let me tell you some stuff. Okay, so first things first, if you're looking for drawing, one of the hardest things for people to draw is people. Because that's one of the things that people want to draw.
Just ask Rob Liefeld.
Mm-hmm. So I think I've talked about this before in a few places, but like, that thing you have to do in art class where they make you draw cubes and then shade them. So you have to know how the light falls on a cube, like at different angles. Well, that's so that you can make a person or anything out of those cubes, and then you'll know how the light falls on them, because lighting and shadow is very important. But as far as drawing people go, there is this guy, George Bridgman. George Bridgman was a real interesting guy. He's got a whole bunch of different books, heads and facial features. He had these smaller and smaller books, but all of his books are basically teaching you how to build people out of geometric shapes. And not just how to build people, but how to build hands, faces, legs, out of basically cubes and cylinders and planes. So the thing is that you can take, like, if you can draw a sphere, you can take that sphere and you can kind of hook some squares to some spheres together and then make some fingers out of them, and you'll know how the shading and everything goes on them. His books tend to be I like them a lot because I'm very like mathematically oriented, and this like really appeals to me in a geometric way. He also has just a very kind of like easy to recognize style, and his books tend to just be like all about how to build the human body. So that to me is, if nothing else, it's also a great reference point, because it's just page after page after page after page of drawings, like good base drawings of parts of human anatomy.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Like the way the geometry of it is.
What's that?
The Disney Infinity art style.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah, because it was very much just about like, geometric shapes to make, people.
Yep. It's definitely a good resource for learning how to draw people. There's also another one, and this is the book that I used in school. It's by Stephen Rogers Peck, and it's called Atlas of Human Anatomy for the Artist. And this is a book. This is a daunting book, right? You're going to buy this book, and it's going to be a little bit daunting when you first open it, because this book is half like, it's mostly how the human body is built. Like it goes over skeleton, musculature, like skin, and just the way that the human body is put together. And then each one is also accompanied by drawings that show you like, so it starts with like the skeleton and like, what are all the bones of the skeleton and how do they work and what do they do? And then you get into muscle and how do muscles work? And where are the muscles in the body? How are they placed? How do they hook together? How are they, and it's this real big motherfucker that goes over every part of the human anatomy. It's got some pictures of naked people and junk in it. Like, it really is a good way, because when you're drawing by kind of building a person, when you're drawing, it helps to know how do the bones go together, like how many bones are there and where do the bones go. So like learning how to draw a face is easier if you know how a skull is put together, right? Because then you can kind of understand what's underneath there. So those are two books that I really, really liked. The Bridgman one was one that one of my teachers recommended to me. The Anatomy of an Artist was when I took life drawing. We spent the entire semester just basically like with this one book. Like that was the only book that we used the entire semester. And it's if nothing else, it's definitely like it's definitely a good reference point in case you need to know something. As far as outside of that, let me give you two other pieces of advice. One, paint. When I first started trying to learn how to draw stuff, I was a comic artist, and probably like a lot of comic artists, I would draw an outline of what the thing was that I was trying to draw. I would draw, if I was going to draw a head, I would draw the outline of a head. And my first art teacher would just fucking slap me around all the time, be like, life doesn't have black outlines around it, Jeff. Like if, and the thing is that once you start painting, you'll understand that, because in painting, you're constructing like planes of color and light, and you're constructing in 3 dimensions, like what a thing looks like. And you're not starting, like if you have to draw a ball, you're not starting by drawing a circle. You're putting where the light is, and you're putting where the shadow is, and you're putting where contours are on the side. So even if you don't paint well, painting, as far as I'm concerned, is always a good exercise, because it will teach you. And that's where joy of painting comes in, because that's a great way to like just see what's going on. And then last but certainly not least, do yourself a favor and spend some time drawing stuff upside down. So let's say you want to draw a person's face and you're having difficulty with the proportions of a face. Draw it upside down, because a lot of times what'll happen, and I know a lot of people who are like this, is people will start by drawing, like if you want to draw a person, you'll start by drawing like the eyes of the face, and then you'll draw a head around the eyes, and then you put in the mouth, and then you put in the hair, and then you put in the neck, and then you put in the parts of the body, and then you draw all the way down to the feet. And the thing is that there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it's also very limiting, because you just end up drawing the same way every time. You're constructing things, but you're hanging everything off of like one feature. Whereas if you turn it upside down, well, then you don't have that same latitude, right? You're having to think about what you're drawing from such a different perspective that you can't look at it like it's almost like you're not even looking at it like a person when you're drawing it, because you're focusing on drawing individual elements and not like looking at it as a whole as you're drawing it and then kind of turning around and look at it.
Yeah.
So try those out. I mean, it's never paint is cheap, right? Get some egg tempera, some fucking paper, some charcoal. Contrapasto? No, not Contra Coup. That's brain injury.
Sorry.
What's that?
I said Contra 3.
No, not Contra 3. There's also another one where it's like, we did this. It's an interesting exercise where you take a piece of paper and you take charcoal and you just black out the entire piece of paper, and then you draw the light with like a piece of either white charcoal or like a white pencil or something. That's also really interesting because you're a lot of times you'll draw and then you'll put the shadow in, and this is like reversing it as you're carving the light out. I think anything that involves breaking up the way that you think you should draw and making you do it a different way is good, because that's what allows you to have a little bit more perspective. And with that, we are done. Big old long podcast this week. We got all the Avengers, we got all the Game of Thrones, we got all the Mortal Kombat 11 titty bitching out of the way. Michael, where can people hear you bitch about titties on the internet?
Find me on oneofus.net sometimes on that, I guess.
Yep. Probably not as much.
Probably not as much on that
Probably
one.
not as much. And you can find me right here at Rage Select. MailRageSelect.com is an email address. Send in your questions. Send them in. Tell me how wrong I am. I will read them on the air. Woo!